Sorry, I just realized I forgot to go live on YouTube. I'm on there now, though, so hopefully you guys will be able to see me. My mistake. I've only been live for a second or two, so we're good.
And as a submissive wife, she's saying, evil men stole half of your vote and gave it to me, and I'm giving it back. My wife, right? I'm not telling you.
That is absolutely psychotic. Yeah, here you go. TMZ reports that Hunter Biden and Nick Fuentes sat down for a joint interview with Channel 5. Let's check Channel 5. Oh my God, dude. YouTube's like UI is so frustrating sometimes. What's this? We could also watch the Channel 5 clavicular. We're being sued 5 days ago. Huh. We could also watch the clavicular video. I don't think I've watched that. Let's just watch a second or two of it.
The word incel has been largely misused, so let's clarify what that actually is.
So you think that even if someone had every word of the Neil Strauss book, The Game, memorized, and they were like super busted, they could approach a Stacy and get totally...
Hard, like brutalized almost. Like women are brutal as fuck these days. I was talking about this on my stream the other day. Say you were to do like a bowling date with a girl and you weren't streaming it, like... That's just the most ridiculous.
What about like
and you're not streaming it? That is fucking painfully sad, dude.
Connecting with her because like you like her or something like that, you know, like maybe you want to start a family.
But where's the ROI in that?
What's that?
On starting a family? Where's the ROI on starting a family? All right.
Return on investment. What's the value there? I mean,
and engaging with people in real life?
Yeah, I mean, there's really not that many people that are worth interacting with, I would say.
What do you mean?
Like, most people are extremely jester. If you want to be completely disingenuous, that's...
Dude, the stupid words they've come up with are just so cringy. Jester. They're jesters. If they're idiots, then they're jesters, and they're jester maxing. Oh my God, dude. It's so painfully fucking stupid.
Fine with me. I guess there's just no point to continue.
All right. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah. Well, no, unfortunately, we're not going to watch that, but that was... Maybe we should.
The word...
Maybe we should watch this. Let me pull it. Let me just pull this video real fast. Hold on. Oh, legal, like. I need that on my soundboard. Yeah, legal. Okay, yeah. I'm going to pull it. And while we wait for it to download, we'll watch it right here. Oh my God, YouTube. Fucking UI sucks.
I mean,
18-year-old from Hoboken, Florida. Braden Peters. All right.
Channel 5 did an interview with Clavicular. I don't know if you guys know Clavicular, but he's like this king incel. He views women as objects in the truest sense of the term, and he's just an awful person at the end of the day. Anyway, let's listen to this and see what he said.
Thank you for your time.
I feel we've been starting late for a while now. Did we just get going? Yes, we did. I'm trying to figure out exactly what I'm going to do because I have a kid and, you know, taking care of the kid is difficult. So I'm not sure what the best time is for me to like stream and also take care of the kid because I sleep from 5 a.m. because I'm up with her until 5 a.m. You know, I sleep from 5 a.m. to noon, and then I have to prep, so I'm up by 1. But by then, my wife has watched her from 5 a.m. to noon, and then another 4 hours because I'm streaming. right? So 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That's 7 hours. 8, 9, 10, 11 hours to get me through to when I'm done streaming, or even 12. So basically, I wake up, I work, I take care of her, I go to sleep, and there is no in between at all. There's no time to take a shower. There's no time to, play StarCraft 2 or anything at all on days that I work. So I'm trying to figure out the best schedule because it's hard on days that I work. I don't know. I thought maybe if I work at 5, like if I start streaming at 5 p.m. and stop at 9, but then it just pushes things around. It doesn't change anything for me fundamentally at all. Or, I guess it changes things for my wife a bit because she can sleep from like noon to 5. It's just really difficult is all. So I don't know. I'm just kind of all over the place right now with the time, and that's not good. It should be consistent. It should be the exact same time every day, indefinitely. But I just don't know how to manage my time on days that I have to work. It's hard. Anyway, let's continue listening here. I think I gave an intro.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Braden Peters, known online as Clavicular, Clav for short. A 20-year-old from Hoboken, New Jersey, currently living and trapping content out of a rented mansion in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. The property has been converted to a 24/7, fully staffed live streaming studio for Clav's particular brand of content, which focuses on partying and also helping young men, particularly in Gen Alpha and early Gen Z, look sexy as fuck and ascend by engaging in looks-maxing activities like facial surgery, limb lengthening, Botox, peptide use, and steroid injection, all with the goal.
Oh shit! I forgot that he was featured on Saturday Night Live where they're making fun of him. I totally forgot about that shit.
Of raising their SMV, sexual market value, in a way that will lead to more ascension and life success. Across mainstream platforms, he has over 1 million followers and over 170,000 recurring viewers on the live streaming platform Kick. I don't want to spoil it too much though. Let's get into the interview. All right, thanks so much for making the time, man. I appreciate it.
Oh, sorry.
How's it going?
How
you doing, man?
Getting started.
Dude was literally texting somebody while he was about to start an interview. What is that? Was intentional, right? He was just being a shithead. Shit. Thought I started my fireplace. I guess I didn't. He was just being a shithead on purpose, right? Was he trying to mog this dude? I think he was mogging him.
How are you?
I'm good. So for those who don't know, can you tell us your name and kind of what you do?
I am Clavicular. I do live streaming. I hop on a variety of podcasts to talk about sort of my philosophy on why looks are arguably one of the most important things in terms of your success in life.
Mm-hmm. And what do you mean by that?
Well, what I basically mean is every single trait of yours is going to be perceived differently according to your looks level, right? So if you're super...
I agree that looks, there is pretty privilege for sure. Pretty privilege definitely exists. But I would argue that intelligence is far more important for success in life.
You're caged in and shy, but you're good looking. That will be perceived a lot different rather than if you were, an acne-ridden, balding jester and you stay inside all day. People will call you a recluse, they'll call you weird, whatever. Mm-hmm. So even though the actions are the complete same. So that's what I'm talking about here.
And what's the exact equation for measuring like aesthetic value?
So there's a lot of different ratios that go into it to calculate someone's overall facial harmony score. So for example, that could be the width of your eyes relative to the width of your cheekbones, would be your eye separation ratio. or your mid-face ratio, for example, and then you're going to take all these measurements and calculate them into a final percentage harmony score.
And who has the highest score right now living?
I believe it's Matt Bomer.
What in particular about Matt's face gives him that high score?
It's not one particular thing because it's a calculation of a lot of different measurements.
Well, congrats on the big viewership and stuff like that.
Thank you.
It's kind of cool to see the mechanics of algorithmic takeover here.
I appreciate that.
I read less than a year ago you were a line cook.
That's right. Well, it was just one of my many roles at a restaurant I worked at.
What made you kind of want to jump into creating content?
I had already been kind of posting my looks maxing, routine and the protocols I was doing for a good amount of time on TikTok, not really taking it too seriously, and I was posting on online forums. So I was sort of like a well-known name in a really small, tight-knit community. And then I kind of took it a little bit more serious because people were asking me, like, how do you do this? What was your experience like with this, peptide, whatever?
With this peptide?
And it started to get a lot of traction very early on. So I just continued with it, and we're here now.
So going back to like the early days, you were born in 2005, right?
That's right.
How would you describe your like childhood? Was it fun?
Pretty normal, I'd say.
Clearly, it must have been completely and totally normal.
Your social experience in school, though, how was that?
I mean, what age range are we talking about?
I guess like right around 13, 14 is what I'm thinking.
I think he's asking if you were a fucking loser in school that nobody liked. I was. Have you experienced that? Do you know what that's like, or are you completely full of shit, or what?
Well, that would have been during the pandemic, so I was in online school.
Oh, shit. How do you think that being in online school, like, transformed your experience during that time?
Well, obviously, you're not interacting with anyone.
Yeah.
You're just,
Yeah, fucking obviously.
like Ladaring.
But I mean,
No shit.
was that the time window that you sort of fell into the looks maxing community?
Around that time, actually, yeah.
What do you think?
Right at the tail end of the pandemic, actually.
What do you think like initially appealed to you about it?
Well, it just seemed like when I first started lifting, and then I got really into, pharmacology and steroid usage, I was like, this is like literally a video game cheat code.
Wow, he's admitting to steroid use. Okay. That's something. At least he's admitting to it. 519. We're pulling this up in this now. I think steroids are dangerous and cause lots of problems for people and are addictive. They are as addictive as heroin, like really, really, really bad. It's just you don't often hear about steroids as a problem because, like, how many people are you hanging out with who are taking steroids? Basically nobody, right? It's only the type of thing that people will take if they are like really, really buff and in the gym and everything else. But anyway, the point is, I don't think we should be taking stuff that's heavily addictive like that. I think that's a mistake. That being said, I think Ozempic is a cheat code, and I don't see a problem with that. That's not like an addictive substance. That's not, bad in any way, in my opinion. Why the fuck wouldn't you take Ozempic if you need it? Honestly. Blow my mind.
A video game cheat code is what it almost feels like. And it seemed like so ridiculous to try to play the game fair when I had access to all these things.
What was the first kind of thing that you tried out? Was
Test.
Test. How do you get that stuff?
No comment.
But it's like,
Well, obviously from a fellow looks maxer, right?
it's technically illegal in the US, right? But other countries have like more lax regulations.
No, it's prescription only.
Okay. And how did that affect your like looks immediately? Like when you mix that with a bit of lifting?
I started to blow up quite quickly in terms of the amount of muscle mass I had, but I descended because I was lifting in a huge caloric surplus. So
Did he go bald as well? Is this a wig? Because if I'm not mistaken, testosterone will often make you go bald as well.
I turned into kind of like a blob sack. So I mean, I definitely looks minned from
I looks mint. It's the ridiculous fucking stupid terms he uses.
taking tests and just bulking, but it wasn't the test. It was just like prioritizing physique and mass over leanness and angularity.
And you were already creating content like right off
And angularity.
the bat when you found this stuff, or did that come a bit later?
I actually sort of was around, I started kind of documenting a lot of what I was doing on forums, and actually have like a few YouTube videos like kind of going over my experience that people dug up from years prior about like various different cycles I had done. But yeah, so I've been doing content for a little while, but none of it was serious. I never intended to monetize it or have a career made out of it.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is not an advertisement, by the way, but did you hear that about a year ago, we bought back our old show, All Gas, No Brakes?
It seems a little bit like an advertisement. I'm jumping forward. No, thank you, sir.
News. What do you think was the particular moment that made people really catch on to what you were doing?
I would say that a lot of like the DIY stuff was what blew up.
DIY stuff. Bro, don't tell me you're doing DIY steroids. Or is this bone smashing? Is that what he's doing DIY for us?
A lot of people were too scared to try it themselves, like doing injectable fat dissolvers and stuff. I would post it on YouTube, and people thought it was crazy. They thought it was interesting. So that kind of gave me a lot of clout within like the tight-knit looks maxing community. But in terms of like mainstream success and things like TikTok or whatever, a lot of what led to my blow up was like a segment I did calling out copes, right? Because in early 2025, I'm sure a lot of you guys remember, there was just like a lot of ridiculous methods kind of being put out there for looks maxing that really didn't make fucking sense at all.
Like, what's the stupidest method that you saw where you were like, no way?
Oh, dude, there was this one where it was like jumping to get taller.
What do you?
It's like called like Masai jump. Fuck, I don't even remember, but it was really retarded. So I kind of just said to the one guy who was kind of pushing it, like, dude, like this is clearly cope. This is ridiculous, and you know it. And that kind of gave me a lot of clout. Like,
Yeah, debunking bullshit can, be really entertaining to people. Not to toot my own horn or anything. Toot toot, baby.
exposing jesters, I'd say.
So a jester is not just someone who's funny. It's somebody who what?
Well, it could be used in like a lot of contexts.
Yeah, no fucking shit. Welcome to the English language. First time?
But I mean, like, it is kind of gesturing a little bit because the methods are like so ridiculous. You're like fucking, bouncing around, like trying to get taller. Like,
Is it consecutive jumping, like bunny hops for hours?
I honestly couldn't tell you the exact
Bro, you literally debunked it and you don't know how it works? Okay.
protocol for what people were doing back then, but I just know it had something to do with trying to apply Wolff's Law to like vertical height, and like that doesn't make any sense at all.
The first thing that caught my eye was the bone smashing.
Okay.
Because
A
I was
lot
like
of people
worried
are
about
interested
you.
about.
Because I saw some people responding saying like, oh, in time, one day you're going to have like jaw issues. Do you think that's bullshit?
Yeah, because I don't even bone smash my jaw.
Oh, okay, my bad. How does it work?
Cheekbones. And it's just like, it's so silly that people want to talk about bone smash. I think it's just because it's like you hear it and it's so crazy, but that's not even really like one of the main things that I would, advocate for or promote, or that really give people the most results. It's one of the methods that I talk about, but it's just what gets brought up the most frequently in interviews. If you ask me seriously, I mean, what's the best way to look max? I would tell you about leanness. I wouldn't tell you about bone smashing.
Got you. So staying low weight.
Yeah, staying extremely low body fat.
Yeah, definitely. I think that staying low body fat does have a tendency to increase people's subjective attractiveness, I guess.
What are some of the easiest ways to do that besides just creating a caloric deficit?
Well, being in a GLP-1 will help you maintain that deficit a lot easier, right? Because it's going to deal with a lot of hunger signaling. So throughout the day, when you're on a cut and trying to maintain your deficit, you're not just going to be constantly thinking about food. So that's really helpful.
Genuinely, honestly, I don't see anything wrong with Ozempic. I think people should be taking Ozempic. People say they don't want to because it's like a cheat code or whatever. Yes, it is a cheat code. It's a free cheat code to like not need or to lose weight. Why the fuck wouldn't you do that? You know, food is an addiction like any other addiction. Except food is an even worse addiction because you can't just stop eating. You can stop doing coke. You cannot be around people who do coke anymore if you want. You can't stop eating. In my opinion, eating is one of the more insidious addictions out there. And I don't see why anybody would ever not take Ozempic. Why would somebody avoid Ozempic like that?
What do you think about Ozempic?
That is a GLP-1 agonist. That's what we're talking about. It works by just agonizing the one receptor, unlike Reta and tirzepatide, which hit multiple receptors. So this just slows kind of your gastric emptying and like almost nauseates you in a way so that you are unable to eat through that. But Reta is a little bit more like, meticulous, I guess you can call it.
So if I'm 202 right now and I want to be 185, what's the fastest way to get there in 30 days?
Well, the fastest way is to be eating as little food as possible.
Just straight up starve yourself.
Well, yeah, but that's not a good idea, obviously. But fewer calorie intake will obviously make you lose weight. But you need to regulate how much you're taking in. Do it carefully and slowly through diet, obviously. But I think Ozempic, that makes you not as hungry anymore or not as interested in eating food as you once were. I don't see the downside to that, genuinely. Why would anybody not take that?
Yeah, but I wouldn't recommend that you do that.
What do you think is the ideal caloric ingestion amount per day?
Like 300 to 500 calorie deficit. I don't really think.
Deficit. Okay, I thought he was going to say only 300 to 500 calories a day. It's like, what the fuck? So in a 2,000 calorie diet, he's saying you should be taking in like 1,500 instead, right?
Going beyond that is advisable ever, especially if you're someone who's going through puberty. Like if you're restricting your micro and macronutrient intake.
Okay, everything he's saying right now is just good advice. This is just normal, not psychotic, unglued from reality, insane shit like take drugs or whatever. This is all just normal shit. This is how you diet.
During that critical developmental period, you're doing yourself a huge disservice.
You mentioned puberty in that developmental period. That's
Correct.
Also like right around the time that you got into all these communities.
Right.
How was that experience for you? Because it's a strange experience as like a young dude to go from being basically like a kid to a little baby man.
Well, you have the most control over your body while all those growth pathways are still open, right? So your growth plates remain unfused. So you can really do a lot with something like an aromatase inhibitor to prevent this process. Not prevent, slow it down as much as possible. Because estrogen is actually what causes you to stop growing. That's why boys are taller than girls, right?
I don't know if that's true. Maybe, but I don't trust a fucking word out of this dude's mouth by default. By the way, somebody says, Jasper Proxy says, there are two problems with GLP-1s. First, the cost. It's astronomical. Really? Interesting. When you lose about 20% of your body weight, they just stop working. I was on a GLP-1, which is Ozempic, for example, because I got a side effect from antidepressants to where I was hungry, I couldn't think, and I was 280. It really helped, but once I hit 225, it just stopped. Huh. Interesting. I wonder why. I don't understand the chemistry of it, but I do know that it's very much a miracle drug, at least for some people. It does so much good for some people. I don't know why anybody would avoid it. There are a lot of people out there that are really negative about it, and that just like makes me really sad.
So we're blocking our testosterone from converting into estradiol, and that allows us to have that longer growth period. And you could combine that with other mechanisms like taking HGH, and you'll get a lot taller than you otherwise.
Human growth hormone is what that is, I believe. HGH. So he's talking about taking gender affirming. This is gender affirming care, right? Taking gender affirming drugs to affirm his gender even more. Interesting. All right. I wonder how he feels about trans people, actually.
Would.
Are you concerned about any adverse health effects?
Oh yeah, certainly. I mean, if you go about like an HGH improperly, you could deal with, potentially, becoming diabetic, right? So if you're pinning GH and then spamming a shit ton of carbs, that's...
Spamming a shit ton of carbs, he says. Why is he like this?
Horrible for your blood glucose levels. Or if you're taking...
For your blood glucose levels? That's too long, sir. We say BGLs around here. You got to abbreviate everything. What a jester, Maxer.
A huge amount of aromatase inhibitors that could lead to ED, that could potentially be...
There, now he's abbreviating. ED, there you go. You're doing it.
Neurotoxic, give you mood swings. So yeah, you really need to be extremely well researched when doing this stuff. That's why I'm like very careful about when I talk about these kind of things, because I want to be as comprehensive as possible.
Yeah.
To not leave any nuance on the table and try to clarify as much as possible.
Right.
That sounds responsible, right? Except it's not. He's a fucking idiot.
You don't want to mince words, then someone gets hurt or something.
Because
like
if
that.
someone asks...
Fucking please, dude. Okay, if you don't know who this dude is, let me just show you one clip of him that will seal it for you. It'll tell you everything you need to know about this guy. Hold on. Here you go, right here. He was in a car with Tristan Tate, Andrew Tate's brother, Myron Gaines, who's like this right-wing piece of shit, Sneeko, a neo-Nazi, Nick Fuentes, neo-Nazi, Hitler-loving, Sieg-heiling, Jew-hating neo-Nazis. And I'm about to prove that. And in the bottom left here, we have none other than Clavicular. So this song is Heil Hitler by Kanye West. And Myron Gaines, among others, are throwing up Nazi salutes and saying, Jews mad. Jews mad. And here's Clavicular, zoomed in on him, looking right at his face. He's laughing. He's having a good old time. They went to a club in Miami and made asses of themselves, obviously.
They don't understand the things I say on Twitter. Nigga, how Hitler? They don't understand the things I say on Twitter. All my niggas Nazis, nigga, how Hitler? Nigga, how Hitler? Nigga, how Hitler? All my niggas Nazis, nigga, how Hitler? She wanna fuck with the pen, I put the crumb on the bench. Hey, nigga, how Hitler? She reaching down on my pants, she got the roll in her hands.
Just for the record, there weren't many black people in Germany during World War II era, Nazi Germany era. There weren't that many. But there were some in the Rhineland, which was like a rural area that was partially controlled by France until Germany started ramping up control and, building a war economy and everything else. And when they started persecuting people, what did they do? They went to the Rhineland and they grabbed those black kids, particularly the black children, They call them the Rhineland bastards. And they castrated them. They cut shit off of them. You know why? Because they are genetically inferior to the Aryan race and don't deserve to reproduce. Even so, interestingly, Jesse Owens, who won an Olympic medal at that time in 1936 in Germany, that's where the Olympics were held at the time. He won an Olympic medal there. And Jesse Owens said he felt more comfortable in Germany at the time than in America because of how America treated the black community. That's neither here nor there. The point is, Hitler viewed black people as racially inferior. Little more than animals. Kanye West singing that song, saying the N-word, and then saying Heil Hitler, he's lost the right to say the N-word. Okay? He doesn't, like, to support Hitler, who persecuted members of the black community terribly, murdered them, castrated them, fucking hated them. And he's saying, Heil Hitler, you are not part of the community of people anymore that suffer oppression. You are not part of that group anymore. You don't suffer oppression, Kanye West. To use a shared word like that signals to the oppression that these people have experienced throughout their entire fucking history is wrong. It is wrong. Oh, is that Andrew Tate? I believe that one is Andrew Tate, yeah. Yeah, Andrew Tate was on the bus too. I didn't realize that. Oh, he must have been one of the people filming.
Oh, we're here? We should have kept it going. How we doing? Are we going to Club Live now? Yeah.
Oh, and this is that other shithead, like, looks maxer douchebag. I forget what his name is now, but he was in a documentary on this recently. And there's Nick Fuentes. Anyway, point is, these people are fucking disgusting monsters. Okay, like, and one of the things that really gets me more than anything is Hitler's ideology, viewpoint on the world is the natural endpoint of right-wing ideology. It's the natural endpoint of, the Republican Party. Where do you end up if you go further right? You end up where Hitler was. That's one of the things that gets me the most. These people are assisting in the destruction of their own minority group. Go fuck yourself, Kanye West. Go fuck yourself, Clavicular, and all of these other people. Andrew Tate and Tristan Tate are half black. How the fuck can you possibly support right-wing ideology and be from a community that's been so heavily oppressed like that?
Asks you, how do I get taller? And you just tell them, take HGH and aromatase inhibitor. They go out and do that, and then they don't know about, the thing about carbohydrates, and they don't know that they could have these issues with flatlining their E with their mood and their libido. They could really cause themselves a good amount of harm. You have to explain every single thing. You have to make sure the person truly knows what they're doing before they decide to indulge on any of these pharmaceuticals.
He thinks he's being responsible now, and what he's saying is responsible. But let's not forget that he's here in the first place because of how irresponsible he's been.
So I would say, in a funny way, like a lot more people will actually end up detrimenting themselves because people these days are lazy. They don't want to research. They don't want to actually do things properly, you know, take the steps that are actually necessary to have success.
Yeah.
So it's really just about that.
I think people are scared to make friends now too. Screen time's at an all-time high. People aren't really going out. Community's kind of in collapse. Less people have real friends.
I don't know.
He disagrees with that? You don't think that people are more isolated?
Relevance of that.
What do you mean?
What's the relevance of that? It's like
What's kind of what you were just talking about?
not at all.
Wanting to ascend and finding your place in the world. SMV.
I was just
Engaging
talking
with
about
the world.
pharmacology.
Oh yeah, but I'm kind of getting into your goal is to help people ascend, right?
Yeah, but I mean, like, what's the value there? I mean,
And engaging with people in real life.
yeah, I mean, there's really not that many people that are worth interacting with, I would
What?
say.
What do you mean?
Like, most people are extremely jester,
Like they're funny or like they're just like
just have completely misprioritized lives. I would say the average person that you meet who's like an enjoyer of sports, who drinks beer, for example, you know, let's go have a beer at the pub and watch Sunday football. Like, that's the worst thing that you could do. Like, you should be on PubMed reading various different studies on.
What? You can't enjoy life? Andrew Callahan was saying people should get a little bit of social interaction, right? Shouldn't people get a little social interaction? You're saying that's a waste of time? Hanging out with people and all that? Okay.
how you could look smacks.
you don't think there's any value in like social interactions with people?
I wouldn't say people in general. I'd say that there's certain people that you could certainly learn from, but the average person that you encounter is literally like ladaring, watching like a base
What does that mean? Ladaring? Did I just say a slur?
that you encounter is literally like ladaring, watching like a baseball game.
Wait. Oh, they put it on
Counter.
screen.
Is literally like ladar.
Lay down and rot. They're ladaring. They're laying down and rotting. Okay. Ladaring. That's new. I guess I didn't say a slur there.
Watching like a baseball game.
So you think most of humanity is sort of like enslaved to these consumer habits that prevent them from ascending?
Yeah, I would say that's correct.
And you think that certain stuff like sports, drugs, alcohol, all that stuff is like ways to keep people contained and like kind of prevent them from becoming their true elevated selves?
I would say that it's certainly misused, right? So like people will just drink alcohol for no reason at all, it seems like.
I mean, to enjoy it, that's a reason, right? Is enjoying it not a good reason?
Let's go have a drink, when if you were actually smart, you would realize the purpose of alcohol is to lower your inhibitions, to talk to girls. So that's the only time.
That's the purpose of alcohol, to talk to girls? Are you not capable of talking to girls without alcohol? You have to be drinking to talk to girls? Okay.
In which it makes sense to leverage such a toxic drug like ethanol.
Is the purpose of
I agree. Ethanol is not good. If you can avoid it, that would be ideal. But people just, they drink it and that's okay sometimes, right?
look smaxing to raise your aesthetic value to also impress and talk to girls as well?
Yeah, but I don't like when people put too much focus on like getting girls as the reason that they look smacks, because chasing tail is really not going to get you anywhere. Like, you could become the most successful slayer and have the best game ever, sleep with a different girl every night, but your life will really not change, and in a lot of regards, like, it'll get worse. Like, and that sort of is what something I experience is like it's a mega waste of time.
Just talking to girls, going out on dates and stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean,
That's a waste of time.
I do content, so it's like, it's one thing where, but like, I was talking about this on my streaming the other day. Say you were to do like a bowling date with a girl and you weren't streaming it, like, that's just the most ridiculous.
Well, what about like connecting with her because like you like her or something like that? You know, like maybe you want to start a family.
But where's the ROI in that?
Okay, this is painfully stupid, dude.
What's that?
Like, where's the ROI?
Sorry, what's ROI?
Return on investment.
I mean, maybe you have kids and you can mold your kid into like a Tiger Woods type, like little golf player or something. And then he could provide for you. So when you get old, you don't got to go to a nursing home and he can like make sure you're taken care of.
Just leech off your kid? Like, you know, those,
like you want when
those
you're...
people who put the kids on the TikTok live? Like,
This is so stupid and painful, dude. You don't see the ROI on having kids. Whatever.
I get what you're saying.
you know what I mean? Like, that's just comical.
So the main goal of looks maxing is not to get girls. It's to feel good about yourself.
No, it's just to be successful in general. It's not about feeling good. It's about real results. And this is a completely objective thing. This isn't my opinion, and it never has just been a subjective thing. It's very, very well researched that in interviews, there's a huge bias towards good-looking people. In dating, obviously, a huge bias towards good-looking people.
Totally. I agree. There is a bias. It's called pretty privilege. And it's, it's a problem. Like, what do we do about that? I feel like people should be judged on more than just their looks, right?
So, objectively, you could hate me as a content creator, but realize like the value in what I'm talking about.
So the goal, when you say success, you mean like mostly financial and economic?
Well, really anything. It's hard for me to think of something where looks wouldn't benefit you.
I mean, in your industry, you're a content creator, you're streaming all the time. You think that if you were not physically good looking, you wouldn't have as much success?
No, I wouldn't at all.
Even if you were like a genius, like Beethoven level creative, but you were busted, you don't think you'd pop off?
Well, that's the thing. So now you have to be so well off in another category to compensate for your lack of looks that you have to be a Beethoven level player in order to compete with a guy who's, just like...
I don't think so. I think you can be moderately intelligent, just a normal, pretty intelligent person. And I don't know. Content creation is different because people are looking at your face every day. Like, unattractive people can do it and it turns out fine, but you definitely get more looks if you're more on the attractive side, obviously.
Mogging and going to the club, so that's why it really gives people a huge advantage in life to have looks on their side.
By the way, if you don't know mogging, it comes from the term amog, alpha male of group. You're amogging this person. You're alpha mailing this person. And that's been shortened to mogging. What? Greg Locke has been raided by the FBI. Hold on. Wait a minute. Let me pull it up on the twit. Hold on 1 second. Let me get some info on this real fast. Give me a second here. Let me see if I can find out about this. I'm going to let this play for just a second, okay, while I look this up.
Yeah, I think it's definitely true. But you don't think there's any value in like having a girlfriend that you like or an in-person community to like meet your essential needs and find belonging?
Well, I'm just a little bit like weird. Like, I don't know. It's hard for me to enjoy some of the same activities that normal people do, but it doesn't really matter because that's just like my personal anecdote. They're not mutually exclusive.
Right. Growing up, what did you enjoy doing the most before all this stuff?
I mean, I would just mostly like Ladar on my PC. Like I was reading.
What kind of stuff were you reading?
I was reading different forum posts, different studies, just whatever research you can think of.
About looks maxing and developing your aesthetic.
Looks maxing, bodybuilding, all that kind of stuff.
Were you unhappy with how you looked at the time?
Yeah, of course.
What were some of the things that you immediately wanted to improve right off the bat?
My muscle mass was probably one of the bigger ones. I didn't really have much of a presence. I was quite skinny, so I was like a little bit lanky because I grew pretty early, so I was a lanklet, yeah.
Do you think that affected your social life?
Yeah, I'd say so.
In what way?
Well, obviously people are going to be more drawn to you if you're good looking, and I would say that, you know, growing up, especially during puberty, early into high school, I really wasn't, so it is what it is.
So you feel like you had a harder time making friends?
Yeah, but I would attribute most of it to sort of my brain chemistry and.
Oh, shit. Oh, shit. Wait, the Tennessean. What is wrong with this website? I have to pay. All right, not to worry. See if I can bypass this puppy. This paywall. Please work. Please work. It worked. Oh shit, Greg Locke was just raided by the FBI. Oh my god, what the hell is going on right now? Federal agents and local law enforcement recently raided the home of Wilson County pastor Greg Locke, who addressed the raid in a July 12th church service. Let's see if I can pull this puppy up. I'm going to see if I can find the sermon. We'll give it a watch. Locke said the raid was part of a nearly two-year-long investigation into accusations of financial mismanagement in his leadership at Global Vision Bible Church. The Wilson County Sheriff's Office confirmed in a statement the execution of search warrants alongside the FBI and IRS at Locke's home and another location. Locke tearfully described how more than 50 agents barged into his home a few weeks ago at 6 a.m. on a Sunday and took his devices and bank statements. He said the event was particularly hard in the aftermath of his son's death. That I get it, yeah. I would say that sucks. You know what? Maybe don't do financial mismanagement, though. The fact that they're raiding him tells me it's more than just financial mismanagement. It's financial malfeasance. They don't raid you for financial mismanagement. They fine you. They don't raid you unless they know for a fact you're intentionally hiding shit. And the FBI. Wow. The pastor's son, Evan Locke, 20, died from an overdose when he couldn't be revived after his heart stopped on May 8th, according to social media posts by Greg Locke. Yeah, rest in peace, Evan Locke. I'm so sorry that the family's going through that, absolutely. Do you know that their house was basically attacked, shot up? Somebody unloaded like an entire magazine of bullets into their house a while back. And Greg Locke claimed it was a hate crime against Christians. It turns out it was his son's drug dealer pissed off that he didn't, that he ripped him off, I guess. But it gets deeper than that. After this happened, Greg Locke claims it was Christian persecution, but he knew it was the son's drug dealer the whole fucking time. The day, like that night when the cops showed up. The members of his church who showed up, the Greenwells or whatever the hell their name was, they recount in their book talking to Greg. They're at the scene. And Greg told them, yeah, it's probably Blah's drug dealer or whatever. He knew. But it gets even deeper than that. It wasn't the son who died of an overdose. It was his other fucking son. His other son ripped off his drug dealer. So we're 2 sons deep into drugs now. That's what they're talking about here. Rest in peace, Evan Locke. That's hard. I'm so sorry. He's dealing with that. But Greg Locke, everything that he does is fucking crooked and dirty. Lying like that is vile. Because of constant, for lack of better terms, whistleblowers and people calling hotlines and making warranted statements and accusations online, we encountered one of the most uncomfortable moments in our life 3 weeks in. Locke said at a July 12th service, referring to a 6-week sabbatical he and his family took to grieve Evan Locke. We were only able to mourn 3 of the past 6 because the last 3 have been difficult. Locke declined to further comment on the raid in response to a request for comment. Wow, dude. Global Vision Church, located at 1010 Maddox Simpson Parkway in Lebanon, and Locke have large digital and social media followings from outside the area. Greg Locke has 2.2 million Facebook followers. Sermons regularly draw 10,000 plus to 100,000 views, and many events spike well beyond that. Locke has gained national attention for social media posts with outspoken right-wing political positions and a mass deliverance ministry that includes casting out evil spirits and events such as inviting people to burn items the church relates to the occult. Yeah, I have that, actually. Hold on.
All right, guys, look. So that we can.
Give me a sec. Let me find this one. No. Where the holy heck did that one go? Is this it?
We're not going to give up. Hey, guys, Pastor Greg Locke.
Here, this is the video right here.
Don't breathe that mess back into you, all right? Let that stuff burn, let it go. But we're going to start this up, and we got all kind of Masonic stuff, we got devilish stuff, we got every bit of kind of witchcraft, spell books, everything you can imagine. And this thing is full, so we got clothes, a lot of things.
Holy shit, dude. I just pulled up. I was just looking on YouTube for his sermons, and I did a YouTube search, and it says, this account has been terminated for a violation of YouTube's terms of service. My fucking heart sank so goddamn hard just now. You don't even know. I feel like I was skydiving. It was Greg Locke's account that was terminated. Not mine. That was fucking scary. Greg Locke's YouTube account was apparently terminated. Anyway, if you notice, he said spell books, Harry Potter, and any books that he doesn't like, book burnings. And at the end of this, you can see, look, I have this exact clock right here. Somebody is throwing a literal antique. It looks like a Seth Thomas clock from the early to mid 1900s. That's so painful, dude. A mechanical clock they're throwing into a fire. Why? It is so painfully sad. They're blowing their stupid fucking horns. Yeah, so anyway, Greg Locke held this burning, and then after the burning, people start criticizing him, rightfully so. And he responds,
We're not going to give up, because you know what happens? We've got all kind of death threats. We got people angry. We got people threatening to do everything you can imagine. Homeland Security, people calling us American terrorists, and Taliban, which, by the way, shall I say this about the Taliban? Did you know that Islam, they burn stuff in their religion, too, that they deem occultic, and ain't nobody doing stories about them, are they?
That's because it's not happening in America, where I fucking live. It is happening in America at your hands. You're doing this.
Let that settle in.
Yeah, you want me to change the entire fucking theocracy of the Middle East? Great, I'll get right on that. But for now, I can change... let me rephrase. But for now, I can prevent the United States from changing into a theocracy that mirrors one of those, which you're trying to do.
No, they've come against an evangelical, Bible-preaching, Bible-believing church in Middle Tennessee that they deem as a, irresponsible threat to the American Republic. Y'all crazy.
So, anyway, that's what that article was referring to. He burns things regularly. He's held multiple burnings. And for good measure, there was a counter-protester at that last burning. I got multiple shots of this, so I spliced them into a single video. But this guy's driving his car. He's a gay dude with his husband. And he shows up to the pyre here. And what does he do? He throws a Bible into the fire. I just burned a Bible, he says. The fucking twig and berries on this dude.
Keeping my copy of Darwin's Origin of Species at Fahrenheit 451.
I'm keeping my copy of Darwin's Arguments and Fahrenheit 451. I love that shit. The twig and berries, dude. I would never go to a gathering of fucking psychos like this. Literally holding an occult burning. And throw a Bible in like that? Fuck that, dude. I don't believe I would come out of that alive. But this dude doesn't give a fuck, apparently. That's wild.
Praise Satan!
Praise Satan. Now they realize. They're trying to process what he's saying. Darwin's arguments. What? Now they realize.
Hail Satan! Hail to his strength and power! Woo!
Two different angles. People uploaded different copies.
In the name of Jesus Christ. Are you really? You can leave. Yeah. I'm leaving. I did what I gotta do. I burned the Bible. Hey, you I am leaving. Okay, go. Walk it out of my face. Go. In the name of Jesus Christ. Go. This is trying to fucking leave. Go. In the name of Jesus Christ. Go right now. Right now. Get out of here. Pray for him. Hail Satan.
He's there with his husband. His husband's in the car right now. That's fucking wild, right? Oh my God. Anyway, let's keep reading this article here. In his July 12th remarks, Locke referenced a book that former Global Vision Bible Church pastors published that accuses Locke of mismanaging church finances. According to the Roy's report, the first to report on Locke's comments about the raid, the title of that book is Pulpit of Leaves, Deception in Plain Sight. I'm going to see if I can find a copy of that. Oh, legal, legal, See if I can get a copy. I'll TTS it. Might be a little bit more difficult to find than I was hoping, but we'll see. There was something else what was I doing? It just completely slipped my mind what I was... All right, let's continue. Which was authored by Justin and Casey Greenwell. The church itself was not part of the search warrant that was executed, Wilson County Sheriff Robert Bryan said when reached by phone. Efforts to reach the FBI and IRS were not immediately successful. We were shocked, terrified in the moment, Locke said about the raid. He said federal agents used a battering ram to break down his front door and aggressively handled him and his family. Well, maybe try not covering up fucking crimes in the future. Financial mismanagement crimes. Maybe you won't have to deal with that. It's definitely not political persecution. There is political persecution happening right now in the United States. There are people going to jail who don't deserve to go to jail or being harassed by the FBI because they're on the left. Because they're to the left of hunting immigrants for sport. This is not one of those cases. Greg Locke is just a piece of shit. Locke said, according to the investigators and his lawyers, the search warrants were for his house and his company, Locke Media. The investigators did not have a search warrant for the church, but Locke said he'd received a subpoena for the church building. They were told our home was filled with all the things that were stolen, Locke said. That were stolen? What stolen things? Let me see if I can look this one up. Give me a second. Okay, I see. So Greg Locke is claiming that he was accused of stealing a bunch of stuff from the church. And he stole money from the church, right? Like he used the church's funds to purchase a $1.6 million house for himself when the church doesn't even own a building. They're renting a temporary building. So the Greenwells accuse him of stealing from the church. Rightfully. That's absolutely what he did, right? And he's saying they were told our home was filled with all the things that were stolen. No, that's obviously not. He's reframing this to be more advantageous to himself. Nobody said you stole items from the church. They said Locke stole money from the church. And he absolutely did. There's no question about that. Wait a minute. I just got an email from YouTube, and now I'm on high fucking alert after seeing this account has been terminated for blah, blah, blah. So I had to look it up, and it was some stupid Happy Wednesday, Owen Morgan. Stupid shit. Like, I give a fuck about those dumbass emails. Please don't send me that shit anymore. I keep unsubscribing from that stuff, and they keep sending it anyway. So Greg Locke already gave his rebuttal to the House allegation, and I covered this previously in another video, so I'm not going to relitigate. But in December 2025, he said GVBC, Global Vision Bible Church, didn't buy him a house, that he, his wife, and businessmen did, and that the church did. However, and that the church did, however, purchase a house for other people. So he's trying to twist this around to be some kind of a, philanthropic thing or whatever. The point is, he's completely full of shit, and investigators are tearing the story to shreds. You love to see that shit. You love to see somebody paying the price for being stupid and corrupt. Anyway, tell me what you think about it in the comments. I love it. I love everything about it. Genuinely. That was interesting. Thank you, Falconis, for sending me that. Now let me see if I can find the video. Let's see. Sermons. Sunday service, Wednesday. It must be the Sunday service, right? No, this is April 26th. Where are all of his Sunday sermons? I don't understand. Why do I only have up to April? Hang on. Maybe they're on his face space or his my book or whatever. Let me just look on face space here. Give me a second. I'm just trying to... Pastor Greg Locke.
The outer part of the tree, right? Where the foliage.
No, this is 7:08. This is the midweek meeting. I want the Sunday meeting. Where the fuck is the Sunday meeting? What's this? This is a live stream from Greg? Hold on, I'm sorry. What the fuck? I keep unmuting and it keeps remuting. What the fuck is going on right now? I don't understand why that's happening, Facebook. Oh my god, dude, no. He's doing an episode with what's his name? Sean Foyt or whatever. All right, does he have a Rumble? Maybe he has a Rumble. I would really like to find this video live 2 months ago. No, these are old. Does he have another YouTube channel? Videos, 13 subscribers, 4 years old. Lock Media. I would really like to find, like, Lock Media. Is this it? No, these are a month old. I bet Lock Media has... Yeah, Lock Media. I bet it has his sermons. I think this is what I was looking for. Is this new? March 10th, 2026. No, this is not new. What the fuck? Where are his latest sermons, bro? I don't understand why I'm having such a hard time finding his fucking sermons. Apparently, he attacks Candace Owens in this, and Tucker. I'm having no end of trouble finding this information. 10 months ago. Why is everything so out of fucking date on this? I'm going to keep looking, and I'm just going to let Clavicular play for a second while I look for this. Hold on.
Like a lot of the maybe differences and activities I enjoy more so than looks, you know, so I'd definitely attribute it to that.
Did you experience any kind of like social anxiety during that time?
Yeah, I still do. Yeah, I get pretty anxious.
Just meeting new people?
It really just depends on the scenario. I would say that meeting new people who have like a higher status is usually something that I get a little bit anxious about because you don't want to like, you know, blow it or whatever.
Make a bad impression.
Yeah, but like if I'm just going to a club, for example, like my impression doesn't really matter that much because a lot of the time it's just like random people in college.
Did you find that engaging with people online as opposed to in real life helped kind of ease some of that social anxiety because you didn't have to deal with so much like in-person immediacy?
Yeah, like Discord maxing was probably one of the the better things to do, because you could actually find like people who have the same interests as you, and you're never going to encounter people with the same niche interests like looks maxing like you will on internet forums.
Did you ever actually meet up with any people from the forums in real life?
Yeah, actually 2 people in this house I met through looksmax.org.
And that word is like an old 4chan word, right? Like maxing and like sell, like as an abbreviate.
It's on 4chan, but it didn't originate from them.
Do you know where the actual word first came from?
Like PSL websites.
The umbrella term PSL refers to the 3 most popular message boards in the incel sphere: PUA, or pickupartisthate.com, hate.com, and lookism.net. On these 3 sites, a shared ranking scale was developed called the PSL scale, which ranks men from TerraChad and GigaChad all the way down to subhuman.
It's just 3 forums, like the names of 3 old forums.
One of them is Pickup Artist Hate, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't like pickup artists?
It's not really that I don't like pickup artists. It's just I don't like the fact that they don't give you the key piece of nuance that if you learn all this game and do cold approaching, but you're not good looking, it's not going to work. So there are certain like psychological tactics that you can utilize to be better at approaching women, conversational tactics, whatever the case may be, but they're going to have different success rates based on different looks levels.
So you think that even if someone had every word of the Neil Strauss book, The Game, memorized, and they were like super busted, they could approach a Stacy and get totally...
Ladard, like brutalized almost. Like women are brutal as fuck these days with rejecting people, I think is one thing that I don't really like. Sometimes the dude will, in a bar, literally just like go up and call a girl pretty, like no creepiness to it, no like overly like touchy or whatever. Yeah. And like she'll start like screaming like just to embarrass the dude and like brutalize him.
What do you think causes that impulse?
Well, I mean, I think it's just that they feel disrespected, that someone that lower in percentiles feels that they could somehow enter like a relationship with them. It's sensible to a degree. You know, how could you actually think that this approach would work out? But I don't really think that there's a reason for them to like just go out of the way to like be brutal.
On an underlying level, what do you think's causing that just like hostility? Do you think it's like the way culture has shifted?
It's not really like hostile a lot of the times. I think they just kind of also think it's like funny because they'll post it on like social media after.
Of like dudes hitting on them to like embarrass them, basically.
Yeah.
What did you think about the whole Nautica Malone situation?
What is that?
That was the Goonicide. You know, the guy at the Bikini Beans in Tempe, Arizona, who went through and he had like supposedly no pants on, and they posted a video of him and he took his own life the next day. You familiar with that story?
I'm not, no. You're gonna have to fill me in.
We just made a documentary about a vigil they did for him.
Here's a preview of that upcoming documentary.
Good. Have you been here before?
Yeah.
Sir, you need to leave. Unacceptable. Unacceptable.
Police say a man took his own life after getting caught committing a sex crime in the drive-thru of a coffee shop.
Say his name! Nautica! Say his name!
Nautica's death is bigger than 9/11.
This was a recurring incident that all the girls were aware of.
You killed that man. Nautica was a gooner.
He's left behind by his wife and 2 kids. Do you think they consider him a goon lord?
I think they view him as a loving father that did a radical thing.
I want to be just like my father. He was a gooner himself.
You know he did it in that parking spot.
No shit. That's messed up.
I analyzed that video over 1,000 times. That man had pants on.
Have you ever exposed yourself in a drive-thru?
No, but I probably will in my future.
You killed that man! You killed that man!
Acting like it's a joke is damaging for everyone involved.
The spirit of the gooner was really all around us.
I can't come! I can't go! I can't come!
If you'd like to see the uncensored, extended, and exclusive cut of the Gooniversary, head to our Patreon at www.patreon.com/channel5. It costs $5 a month to sign up, but your subscriptions help keep the lights on, and there's a ton of stuff.
I found it. Sorry for the wait. I'm gonna let this continue playing for just a second while I pull it. I'm gonna go use the bathroom and grab some stuff. I'll be right back.
On there that you simply cannot see elsewhere. I'll put the link in the pinned comment and description box of this video. All right, back to Clav.
Okay, well, like he was fully naked with his
No. He has a shirt on.
But his phallus, let's just say, is showing to the workers.
According to the workers, there was phallus. According to Nautica Malone's supporters, he had very short shorts on.
I honestly believe that the workers in that case. Like, I mean, I don't really think that anyone should take their own lives, but there's a clear difference there between showing your genitalia and being clothed, even if it's promiscuous, even if it's degenerate. And I could call that out too, but like, that's just straight up a sexual harassment to just like go somewhere with your genitalia out. So I'm not gonna obviously side with that one.
So you think it's a little bit fried that people are showing up to do a vigil for his passing?
I would say so. I think that they're certainly right that there is a lot of scenarios like in the gym when we'd see girls like record their sets and like a guy would like look for a second and then they would like try to ruin their lives.
Do you need something? Do you need something? Okay, I thought so.
Like, yeah, that is horrible, right? So that shouldn't occur. But like someone pulling up to a restaurant naked, it's like that just kind of ruins all the optics of everything if you're gonna like make this part of like the argument, you know what I'm saying?
So back to rejection in general, there's something they call the Gen Z sex recession. It's alcohol recession too. Sounds like you might think it's kind of a good thing, but right now there's less people ever, like in the past 50 years, that are going out.
Why would I think that's a good thing?
Because you mentioned that alcohol is like a slop of the masses and that dating is a waste of time.
Well, no, I just said the exposure should be limited, right? So like if you're someone who just like has a drink before going to bed or has a drink when they go out to lunch with their buddies, it's like, okay, you are just causing, you know, oxidative stress to your body for literally no reason. Because the way that I think about it is, you know, being super results driven, right? So like actually being able to talk to girls, potentially like, you know, get a girl to go home with you. Like that's an example of, okay, maybe the oxidative stress could be justified because you got the success of, you know, slaying a girl, for example. You know, that's kind of like a meaningless pursuit, and that's a whole nother huge philosophical argument, but just for the purpose of this interview, that would be like one example where it kind of makes a little bit more sense. Yeah. But I don't really think that people should be drinking and doing drugs recreationally for the most part, and I know that would appear super hypocritical because I do it a good amount. It's just something that I utilize for my work, for my content, because I can't really like function around people too well or be super entertaining in my sober state.
What drugs do you find help you the most?
Pregabalin, stimulants, I'd say.
Yeah, so just drugs that keep you up, basically. Make it easier to talk to people and do your job.
Pregabalin's a little different. It blocks certain neurotransmitters that are excitatory, right? So your glutamate, and that causes social anxiety, right? By blocking that neurotransmitter while the drug's half-life is active, now you're like in a low inhibition state for, you know, the 6 to 8 hours.
You don't got to talk about this if you don't want, but have you ever used like methamphetamine?
Yeah, no, I've used methamphetamine. Do you know what Adderall is?
Pretty close chemically to meth.
Right, yeah, so it's dexamphetamine. I was just taking dextromethamphetamine.
You think meth kind of gets a bad rap?
No, I don't. Okay. I don't at all, because it's different isomers that are cooked up by like literal biker gang retards, not actual pharmacies that are like, you know, giving you like a Desoxyn script. So it's totally different. Like people just smoking like street meth is like, that's horrible. And I don't really think that anyone should use stimulants ever. But there's a difference between like the meth that people think about from like Breaking Bad and actual like prescription Desoxyn.
So if you did have the Heisenberg 99.8% pure, you think that it would come with less adverse effects than what you say is retard biker meth?
Yeah, I mean, but it's just about dosing at the end of the day, because there's a lot of dopamine toxicity that you could get because of how easy it is to abuse the drug. It's super addictive, and there's no doctor controlling the amount that's prescribed to you because you're buying it from drug dealers, obviously. Yeah. So people aren't able to control their dose protocol. They're doing hundreds of milligrams sometimes and causing a fuck ton of neurotoxicity. That's why I think meth is something that should never really be done. I just share my experiences because I stream so much that if I tried to hide anything, it would just come out anyway. I began blowing up on social media, and I wanted to ascend in a very short time frame, so I was meth maxing to lean out as much as possible in a short duration of time.
What was your preferred meth dosage when you're meth maxing?
Usually around like 10 milligrams.
Would that be like a line?
Well, yeah, more or less, or you could take it orally. But like when people you're like methamphetamine, they assume it's like a guy smoking out of a pipe, but 10 milligrams of methamphetamine is quite similar to the average Adderall prescription.
It kind of reminds me of that conversation about like lean versus heroin, how it was normalized to like sip lean, but then it was, you know, people would get shade thrown at them for doing Oxycontin or heroin, but it's so chemically similar. So
Yeah.
kind of same thing with Adderall and meth.
Well, yeah,
right?
no, what I'm doing is really not trying to like justify my usage or anything, because I stopped doing it. Like it's quite terrible, but that nuance was never something that was included in the headlines, because like mathmaxing sounds so funny that it's like a headline. It was a lot different than people really could imagine.
Oh, hey, what's up, guys? I didn't see you there. I want to show you something super important. So right now on my phone, I have a dope-ass news aggregate pulled up called Ground News, which is Channel 5's primary research tool that we peep before going into the field to figure out what the heck is really going on. Here's how it works. Every single day, Ground News compiles thousands upon thousands of articles from across the world and maps them across the political spectrum in terms of bias, factuality, and ownership. So you can figure out who might be paying for what message, if you know what I mean. The news media industry has been compromised and destroyed by the same corporate investors and lobbying groups that have poisoned our two-party political system. And for that reason, it's hard to tell who's telling the truth. But with Ground News, it gets a little bit easier, even in the case of Clavicular. So as I can see here, each major story that's broken about Clav has been chronicled and mapped by Ground News. So before meeting up with him in Fort Lauderdale, I did a bit of homework, looked him up on the app, and saw that the far majority of his mainstream coverage consisted of left-leaning outlets attacking him, criticizing Clavicular. For example, Out Magazine published a heavily circulated article titled "How Clavicular and His Looks-Maxing Subculture Are Like Toxic Gays Without the Sex," and a second critical think piece called "What Looks-Maxing Says About Modern Masculinity." And newsflash, they didn't have great things to say about what bone smashing and peptide injection says about the state of young men in the US. These articles are absolutely and utterly riddled with scathing commentary that put me into the mind of a Clav hater. But as a journalist, I had to understand the mind of a Clav supporter as well. But as you can see here on the right, there's absolutely no coverage. Not a peep from Fox News, Blaze, Big Tucker, nobody on the right coming to Clavicular's defense. This helped me to understand and truly realize that Clav is a subcultural leader building an empire and army of his own without the positive help of the right-wing political establishment, except for maybe Peter Thiel, which I'm a bit curious about. Why would the CEO of Palantir be signal-boosting, antisocial, biological determinists willing to sterilize themselves in pursuit of a constantly moving, unattainable success target? If you know more, email me. So back to Clav and the relationship between Clavicular and the mainstream media. I talked about it a bit, but there really isn't one. As you can see here, the biggest Clav story ever, titled "Mogging, Maxing, and Clav Briefly Explained," only has 6 sources. 6 sources covering it. That's absolute peanuts and crickets compared to the daily Iran war updates. But I'm willing to bet that 75% of young Gen Alpha dudes can tell you when and where Clav last got frame-mogged before they could point out the goddamn Strait of Hormuz. And that is why Ground News has a dope-ass feature called the Blind Spot feed, which doesn't just focus on big stories across two-party political lines. They show you things not being covered by the mainstream media at all and help you break out of your algorithmic echo chamber. Boom, Ground News, dope-ass news aggregate. And guess what? If you want to be like me, a dope-ass Ground News subscriber, today is your lucky day. Just go to ground.news/channel5 or scan the QR code on screen right here, and you can get a whopping 40% off the unlimited access Vantage plan, bringing the cost down to about $5 a month. Break free from algorithmic hypnosis. Back to Fort Lauderdale. Speaking of headlines, like, how's your experience been with the mainstream media in general?
Like, a lot more positive than a lot of people think it should be. People really want to tie looks maxing to some type of political movement, whether it be, you know, left wing, right wing, whatever. But it is completely apolitical, and I've had good experiences with reporters on both sides of the aisle, and they've, you know, just written based on their experiences, not trying to hit piece me in a lot of regards. So I think that has like thrown people off. If, like, you know, GQ, for example, wrote like a nice article because we spent the day with the reporter, he got an honest insight into my routine, my protocol, whatever. It's like we were very hospitable to the guy. You know, he gave us a fair article, and people are like, oh, you know, bro's like a whatever. He's got these weird implications behind him for like having a good article from a leftist media company, where it's like, I'm not a political figure, so it's like that's pretty sensible.
How was your experience working with Elena?
Elaine is great.
Yeah.
I think she's a very nice girl. And I'm glad we got to do that collaboration, because that was like one of the key things talked about in Looks Maxing is like a lot of the male models, like the PSL gods, is what it's like referred to. Not to be like, obviously, what's the word for it? I know that's against the 10 Commandments or whatever.
Sinful.
Yeah, not to be sinful or whatever. That's just how it's referred to on internet forums. Obviously, idealization of people is not good. But yeah, that's like kind of a meme in the community. So actually, like walking on the runway was kind of MOG, and it's like, okay, now you started on the forums, now you're like one of the people that the forum was talking about.
So it was a cool, like, full circle moment for you?
Yeah, a little bit, I guess you could say that.
Was that like the moment you think you're most proud of?
There's been a lot. It's kind of just like a steady up and up so far, that there's like a lot of, but that was certainly like one specific event that was that's a big one.
What's like one event that comes to mind as well that you were like, holy shit, I can't believe that was me in that video and all this is happening?
I just think it's consistency more so than just like becoming like trendy or viral based on one thing. Just the fact that I'm consistently streaming every single day, getting more and more clips out there, doing more and more media appearance, just generally captivating more people with my message, because it resonates super well with a society of men who are really not that well off in a lot of regards.
In what sense? Like, what do you think are the main things that men are suffering from in 2026?
Economic struggle, lack of success in the dating market, hypergamy, stuff like that.
But your idea is to sort of withdraw from the dating market to an extent and pursue self-improvement in a way to ascend in a way that doesn't put you in last place.
I think you're going to be wasting your time entering the dating market until you are maximized.
In career and aesthetic?
In every metric, yeah, really.
I know you hate talking about politics, and the last thing I want to do is trap you in a politics rabbit hole, but you mentioned that Looks Maxing isn't political. There is an association in the press with Looks Maxing and the sort of right-wing manosphere. Do you agree with that?
It's more so just the fact that I've collaborated with like people who say like edgy things, but that's my brand. It's like I really don't care. Like I'm really not trying to be like PR or whatever. It would just be too much work, really. So that's why I guess they've tried to do that. But in terms of my actual political ideology and whether or not Looks Maxing has any political implications, it doesn't. So, and Looks Maxing is bigger than myself, right? So even if I were to hypothetically be right or left wing, it wouldn't change the fact that Looks Maxing is apolitical.
What does the S and PSL stand for?
sluthate.com.
That's a pretty intense like word, right?
Yeah, I would say so.
You don't think that like veers towards sort of like a anti-woman vibe?
Well, that's not really a Looks Maxing forum.
But it's in the greater orbit.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, there's also like the owner of looksmax.org also hosts like, the incel forum. It's like, you know what I mean? And there's plenty of hateful rhetoric on there, but that doesn't change the fact that Looks Maxing as an action is apolitical. You know, even if there's like people on forums who have had a lack of success with women who suddenly turn hateful, it's like, yeah, that has nothing to do with Looks Maxing, really, because the entire idea of Looks Maxing is to disassociate with inceldom, is to escape that.
But there is a pipeline, like an incel can ascend through Looks Maxing and get out of a situation.
I think that the word incel has been largely misused, so let's clarify what that actually is. Incels is commonly referred to by the media as just people who hate women on internet forums, when in actuality it's someone who's involuntarily celibate and can't get women. And it is true, a lot of those people become extremely resentful and become extremely hateful. And that's an unfortunate thing, because that's really not productive in any regard, is it? I don't support that. Obviously, I would say it's ridiculous to sit there all day writing up like hate posts on a forum. I'm saying the way to actually fix your life is to Looks Max and not, be hateful against, women because you can't have any success with them.
You see yourself as potentially helping people like that.
Yeah, like that's the best way to escape that sort of thing is actually by Looks Maxing.
Have you heard any success stories from your supporters who started off incels and are now killing shit after your protocol?
Yeah, of course. I mean, that's the main way that people can escape that mentality.
And does that make you feel gratified that you were able to help younger dudes?
Yeah, of course. I mean, the more people who could have success from Looks Maxing, it kind of just proves me right. So I don't want to think about it necessarily from like an egotistical perspective. It feels good because I'm still not that far out of it, right? So I was that guy not too long ago. So I still can put myself in their shoes and empathize with having a bad job, like working in a restaurant, being unattractive, not being able to get girls. It's not like I'm, 40 years old with a long and successful media career. I just started doing this. And yeah, maybe I'm successful now and my life is a little bit different than it was, but it's not, completely out of my hindsight.
As far as the mechanics of like the stuff you do here, like how much do you stream? Like how many hours per day this month are you streaming?
Well, we're streaming 24/7 for the whole marathon.
Holy shit. Is that exhausting for you?
Yeah, it's been quite brutal so far.
In what sense?
Just like lack of sleep, because sometimes we'll have a segment that comes about late in the night, and then you're up till 6, 7 in the morning. Then the next day is cooked, and then you try to reset your sleep schedule. You can't fall asleep. So that sort of thing has been quite exhausting.
What have been some of your favorite moments from the stream so far this month?
Favorite moments from the stream, we did a couple collabs. Like Blueface was a really exciting one because that was someone we were listening to throughout the come up of my streaming career.
I didn't know you were a rap fan.
Yeah, I like all sorts of music. And then we collabed with Ryan Garcia also, same day. So it's pretty cool to see that. It's always just funny when you see people in real life that you've only seen on like a TV growing up.
As far as your clipping and distribution style, who are your influences in that regard?
In terms of the clipping, that's not something that we really have any control over. Like in a lot of the clips actually make me look like quite jester because it's paid by Kick. We're just a community of people on like a CPM basis. We can't like tell the clippers like, oh, like this moment was really good. A lot of times they'll like AI my face with like goofy filters and shit. And like, for example, I was working out not too long ago and they like edited it till the end of my set and they were like, he only gets 2 reps with this weight or whatever. The clipping is great and it really does help push you out there. Like I was #1 in clipping views. A lot of reporters fall for like clipping memes. Like a reporter called me yesterday asking about like the Chad ranking thing or whatever. I don't know if you've seen that on Twitter.
No, what is that?
Yeah, exactly. It's just...
Yeah.
Okay. I'm back. Let's watch Greg Locke's sermon. You just pull it up here. All right. Greg Locke. Yeah. Awesome. Okay. Where does it actually start? Shit, I should have trimmed it. Son of a bitch. Okay. I think it starts at about here. 42 minutes. Yeah. Let me actually see if I can trim this. Do I have the logic to trim this? Maybe I don't. No. Damn. Okay. Let's check the transcript real fast. Did the transcript get all mangled? No. Transcript worked. Beautiful. Okay. Good. I'm not seeing any repeats or anything. All right, good. Let's hit this. 42 minutes right here. Yeah. Greg Locke was just raided by federal agents, and this past Sunday, he spoke on it at his church. Let's listen.
I want to invite you for a few moments in this part of the service to be seated. I'm going to be seated with you. We're going to chit-chat as a fellowship just for a few moments. I want to pastor your heart.
Let me turn it up. It's pretty quiet.
You can sit in the front if you want to. It's no big deal. We'll go back to worship here in a moment. I'm not going to take long.
It's really, really quiet.
Just for a few moments. I want to pastor with you. We're going to chit-chat as a fellowship just for a few moments. I want to pastor your heart. You can sit in the front if you want to. It's no big deal. We'll go back to worship here in a moment. I'm not going to take long, but I feel like we've reached a climax of a very important moment in which I just want to move the pulpit out. This is separate from preaching and teaching time to follow, obviously, and so I just wanted to share my heart with you for a few moments. Let me just say a couple of things that I think are very important. Number one, I know that People love us in this room, and I thank you for that, but I don't need any talk back. Meaning by that, yeah, you can amen, you can clap, we can cry, we can pray, but I don't need any shout back announcements, right? I know sometimes when we have to deal with difficult situations, sometimes people are like, just don't. Because obviously there's a lot of people that watch our live stream, and today there'll be, once it's done, they'll end up being thousands more than normal. So let me just say at the very beginning, it's interesting we just sang that song, not just that Christ is our firm foundation, but I like the part that says, I have peace that makes no sense. Hallelujah. Yeah, we can rejoice through the whole thing, right? There's no doubt about that. Because
I don't know what that means. We have peace that makes no sense? What does that mean exactly?
My family, my wife and I, we have a peace right now that does not make any sense. And you'll see why in just a moment. I just want to say at the beginning, for all those that are watching and will watch, and those that will try to take advantage of the announcement.
Again, this isn't taking advantage of the announcement. You were raided by the FBI for financial malfeasance. That's not taking advantage of the announcement. That is making it publicly known that you are a scumbag and a scam artist.
That is, this is the only time that I will publicly talk about it. I will not give any interviews. I will not respond to any news media. I will not post anything on social media because I'm not in fight mode, nor am I in flight mode. I'm in faith mode, okay? So I just want people to know online, there's no need to call the office for an interview. You will not get one for the newspaper. I know a lot of times we stay in the headlines. This will not.
That's intentional, by the way. He does that intentionally. Stays in the headlines on purpose.
And shall not be one of those times. Okay, so I will measure my words, and I'm not going to take a long time to give the announcement. But I think it's important. Sometimes we bear things as leaders that the rest of the congregation...
Bro, is he just going to talk about how hard it is to be a leader for 20 fucking minutes before he gets to it? Please get to the point, Greg. My God. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Give me a second here. Hold on. Wait. Holy shit. Give me a second. Yeah. I'm sorry, I just need one more second. Okay, he literally had 5 minutes of lead up to this. This is where it starts, roughly.
So 3 weeks into our sabbatical, we were in bed at home. And at 6 o'clock in the morning, 60 federal agents surrounded our home.
I'm not sure I believe it was 60. Maybe. That's a lot of people, bro.
And we didn't know they were there. And I heard a faint knock at the door. And I got up, and by the time I got my robe on and got out of the bedroom, a team of federal agents had batter rammed in our front door, riot gear, and had me on the ground. I was screaming, I've got kids in the house. Don't shoot, don't shoot. I've got kids in the house. And they drug my wife outside in her nightshirt and underwear.
I feel like he's not taking responsibility for his role in making this happen.
Kicked our kids' bedroom doors in.
By the way, if you don't know what happened, I did a whole video on it, I believe, on my main channel. The answer is basically it's a little more nuanced than this, obviously, but he basically stole like millions of dollars from the church and used it for his own personal gain. Like he had the church purchase his house for him. You can't do that shit. Surprisingly. And then he claimed basically that he was like the victim of lies told about him and all this other shit.
Drug my kids out of bed, 3 of them.
Sorry, hold on. We're at 50:29. Let me reopen it because I did loud normalization. 50.
Our front door, riot gear, had me on the ground. I was screaming, I've got kids in the house. Don't shoot, don't shoot. I've got kids in the house. And they drug my wife outside in her nightshirt and underwear. Kicked our kids' bedroom doors in. Drug my kids out of bed. 3 of them were home. We didn't know what was going on. Here's my kids mourning the loss of their brother. And they've got my son Malachi up against the wall with a AR in his back.
Something I learned about Greg Locke is you can't trust a word out of his fucking mouth. Don't fully trust anything that he says. There tends to be a bit of a grain of truth to everything that he says, but he twists it completely out of proportion. Like, somebody really did shoot up his house. But it wasn't Christian persecution. It was his son's drug dealer who his son had ripped off. Everything that he says is twisted to be beneficial to him in some way. In some very obvious way. So I've seen a lot of reporting where newspapers are talking about what he's saying here. But the IRS and the FBI have not made a comment on this investigation. So everything we know about it, I believe, is from him, from his words, from his mouth. So be skeptical of everything that he says.
They took us outside. We didn't know what to do. We were shocked, terrified in the moment. They pulled me aside and said, we're here because of an overabundance the last couple of years of allegations online that you have misappropriated church funds.
Oh my God. It's all allegations online, right? Because these search warrants, they don't need a judge to sign off on them. They don't need hard evidence to get a search warrant. They need allegations online to get a search warrant, right? That's all you need, really. Online allegations.
I was so shocked in the moment. I said a phone call wouldn't have sufficed. For 3 hours, they served us 2 search warrants, one for our house, one for lock media, and then a subpoena for the church building. They didn't raid this building. They raided the other 2. A private 1.5 year, 2-year investigation with no arrest warrant, only search warrants, because they were told our home was filled with all the things that we had stolen.
Now, they investigated and found that your home had been purchased with the church's coffers, as far as I can tell, from the reporting, from past reporting that I did on this. I believe that's what was going on.
It's a pre-dawn raid. We didn't know they were coming.
Well, that's kind of the fucking point, isn't it?
They took our phones, downloaded everything out of them. They took all of our computers, our devices. 3 hours went by. 3 of the most earth-shattering, humiliating hours of our life. And they left with a little tiny box of literally a few bank statements. Nothing there. They went through the pages of our library books. Every drawer, every cabinet, every...
Yeah, that's what they do in a search warrant, obviously.
Bed, every attic, every space, every chicken coop, every shed on our property. When I say between 50 and 60 agents, we're not talking the least bit of exaggeration.
I don't think I believe him.
Kudos, by the way, to our sheriff's department. Whenever federal agents raid someone's home or business, the local sheriff's department has a sidekick responsibility, and our sheriff's department told them no. We know them, and this is not the way to go about it. These are...
You telling me that the sheriff's department corruptly gave you favorable treatment that they weren't supposed to legally give you? They treated you uniquely well, that other people with other search warrants wouldn't have gotten that same type of treatment? Yeah, kudos to the sheriff's department. Great.
Not the people you think they are. So kudos to our sheriff's department for being so kind. Thank you. And they would not proceed with the federal agents. And the only person that came was about an hour later, and it was the lady that had done the investigation on our house. And
yeah, Dizzy Frisbee says, that's a lot of agents for a white person, right?
when the house was shot up a couple years ago, and she was very apologetic. And the agents involved were extremely kind on the back end, because they began to realize, oh my goodness, this house had nothing in it that we were told it would be full of.
There were no allegations of him stealing physical items from the church. Nobody ever made that claim. The claim is from the ex-staff members that his books are closed. He refuses to show or tell people what is happening with the finances. And he is spending church money on his own stuff, on his personal things. He's using church money to purchase things for himself. That's beyond a shadow of a doubt. We know that for a fact. He purchased his house with church money, and the church itself does not have a building. You'd think that a church should purchase itself a building before it purchases the pastor a building, right? You know, you want to use the church funds to pay for a parsonage or to like rent a house for the pastor to stay in or whatever. Okay. But you pay for the church building first, right? Before anything.
Or Lock Media, for that matter. But it began, obviously, an investigation, and they have to continue to do their investigation. And so for the last 3 weeks, 3.5 weeks, our lives have been turned inside out.
Why? Why has your life been flipped, turned upside down? I wonder, as the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air would say. Any idea why this happened? Did you maybe do something that could be considered corrupt or questionable that might have caused something like this? I'm wondering. Any ideas? Anything?
To God be the glory. The Attorney General has given us extra time to be able to solidify all the paperwork that we need. We're talking about tens of thousands of documents. They've gone back to 2020, so 6 years.
Oh, he's fucked, isn't he? He's fucked.
Of personal Lock Media and Global Vision records, which are fine. We have nothing to hide. It's just difficult to get them everything they want because they took everything that it's already on.
Uh-huh. I bet.
That makes sense, all of our devices, and so we've had to get another laptop and really start from scratch. Some of you have probably already received letters or phone calls. They've subpoenaed everybody you can imagine, and what they're finding is that everybody they're subpoenaing, who I don't even know who they all are, people that have donated money in the past, missionaries overseas, they want to make sure, because they were told that we're, trafficking children and all of this.
Let me show you what really upsets me about this. Let's go down the whole pipeline right now, okay? He said that they were accused of trafficking children. That's interesting. He started an adoption agency. Did he take children without filing the proper paperwork? Is that what it is? And give them to other parents, like his church parents? Because that would definitely be child trafficking. You have to fill out the right paperwork for that, obviously. But let me show you what really pisses me off about this. Let me find the right... Give me a second. This might be the video. Let's see.
So this is the part we need online, okay? This is the part that I hope the rest of them get. I hope they actually pay attention, because
This is 2022, May 22nd.
everybody's like, oh, what we need to do is take away their tax-exempt status. Because he broke the law. A couple things about that. That's not how it works. Number two, we didn't break the law. And number three, did you know that churches are tax-exempt automatically? I find it interesting. I was like, man, them churches ought to pay taxes. Did you know one of the reasons we don't pay sales tax as a church and property tax as a church is because churches in America make up 90% of giving to charitable organizations?
No, that's a lie. And I know the exact way that he's twisting this around. I'll explain in a second. But what he's saying here is churches are tax exempt by default. What that means is he doesn't even have to file a business license in his mind. In his mind, he automatically can say, I am a church, and is tax exempt by default. He doesn't have to file any paperwork, doesn't have to file a business license, doesn't even have to tell anybody. He can think it. And just like that, he's tax exempt. That's his claim. That's incorrect. You have to file as a 501c3, I believe, and get actual tax exempt status approved by the IRS. And that's why, Scientology had such an uphill battle, such a fight over this. So I suspect that what happened here is he just refused to file any documents, any paperwork, anything at all. And every company that he started or worked with or whatever, he just didn't file any tax returns. He didn't file any paperwork. He filed nothing. He just made money, put it in his bank account, moved on with his life, and called it a day. That's my suspicion. And that suspicion is bolstered by this video from 2022. Let's keep listening here.
So I want everybody online to pay real close attention. I almost brought the document. I was going to burn it right here on national television. But it ain't worth catching our tent on fire. So guess what I did this week? I got an attorney, and I dissolved our stinking 501c3 in this church, because the government ain't gonna tell me what I can and what I can't say. So IRS, we don't need your stupid tax-exempt status. You can put it in a bag and burn it in your front yard for all we care.
So I looked this up. He does still have a registered 501c3. He didn't tear it up. He lied. He pretended that he gave up tax-exempt status, and he did not. Objectively, factually, I know that. You can look it up on Tennessee's website or wherever. He kept it after this. But here's the interesting and unique thing about churches. If you do have a church registered as a 501c3, uniquely, you don't have to file tax returns. I mean, not returns, but tax filings. If you're a 501c3 like American Atheists, the ACA, Secular Student Alliance, you do have to file your paperwork, just so that they know. You don't have to pay taxes, but just so they know publicly what you're spending your money on. You have to file. You have to submit that paperwork. You have to make it available on your website legally. Churches don't. Churches don't have to file jack shit. If they're an official, approved 501c3 church, they don't have to file shit. The problem is, I'm getting the impression that he said he was raided by the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the FBI, and the federal IRS. I could find his tax-exempt church business license on the Tennessee website. I'm not sure if you can even look it up federally. I'm not sure. So is he saying he tore up his business license, his 501c3 tax-exempt church status business license federally, and then just continued to not pay taxes? Because come to think of it, this is 2022 when this video came out, right? How many years ago is that? That's 4 years ago. And he says the investigation launched 2 years ago. And now they've just raided his home. Is that what happened? I think that's what happened. I think he forgot to dissolve his 501c3 for Tennessee. And that's what I saw on the website. But he claims to have dissolved it federally, and then he just didn't pay taxes because he believed churches were tax exempt by default. So he dissolved the federal one and then just never paid. Is that what happened? I think it might be. Why did he start an adoption agency, more importantly? Was it to take wicked, sinful kids and put them in far-right Christian households? I believe it was basically to stand on the principle of being anti-abortion, basically. He's anti-abortion. Well, if you're anti-abortion, you should be pro-adoption, right? So that's the reason he gave for giving up on, or that's the reason he gave for starting an adoption agency. I don't know if that's real. I don't know what reasons he actually had or any of that shit, but yeah. It was solely to put children in the hands of his far-right extremists, to answer your question directly. Yes, that was the point.
I renounce 501c3 communism in this church.
501c3 is communism now. I declare bankruptcy. Oh my God, it's so painfully stupid, dude. So is Kenneth Copeland a communist since he has 501c3 status? Is that what it is?
So we'll say what we want to, Skippy Lou. And the IRS and the FBI and everybody we've been turned into can eat my dirty socks on live TV. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of all these limp-wristed false prophet pastors siding with the Democrats. I found
You're siding with the Democrats if you uphold the rule of law.
out this week who a lot of them's on the team with. No wonder these panty-wearing pastors closed their church down during COVID. Bunch of sissies, ain't got a backbone.
Okay, now he's just going, I don't even know what he's talking about. The point is, I think he dug himself a hole because he didn't know what he was doing. And he just kept spending his money and refusing to file anything because he believed churches have some special, like, sovereign citizen style viewpoint on how churches are viewed by the government. I think that's what happened. I'm probably going to include this in the final video for my main channel. Anyway, tell me what you think about it in the comments. Absolutely wild. Yeah, let's keep listening. That's really interesting. Let's keep going with this.
And so the more they dig, the more they begin to see things like, wow, these are not quite the people that we were told they were. But the investigation still has to go. It's federal at this point.
Why is there a federal investigation into you, Greg? They don't do that shit on just simple allegations against famous people. That does not happen. Okay, can you explain to me exactly, like I'm a 5-year-old, why you are getting investigated by federal agents right now? And be honest about it. He's incapable.
And so they've been going through everything, which is fine. We have nothing to hide, and they're figuring that out.
I don't believe you.
And I'm not fighting them. And by the way, here's what they know and what everybody in this room and online knows. I could have went live the first day it happened and caused riots in the streets with the size of our platform. But the Lord said, no.
Wow, the Lord said, don't be a complete piece of fucking shit. And now I'm taking credit for that. I'm taking credit for not being a complete sack of shit. Am I reading this correctly? I could have literally gotten people killed by causing riots in the streets, and I chose not to literally get people killed. Aren't I a good person?
I'll vindicate you. You don't have to fight them. Amen. You don't have to say anything, nor do I want to, because I won't. And that's why I'm being careful. I'm not even telling you what 3-letter agency it was.
It was the FBI and the IRS, supposedly. But again, you can't trust a fucking word out of this guy's mouth.
They need to understand that the only reason I'm even making an announcement is not for sympathy points, but because it's put personally us and the church in such a tailspin in several ways. And so I'm not looking for people to come up, oh yeah, we'll fight for you. No, we fight for the Lord. We fight for truth. We fight for righteousness.
Well, yeah, that's what people believe they would be doing if they were fighting for you, obviously, incorrectly.
But the thing that angered me was not that it happened, but that the enemy kicked us while we were down, and it took away the opportunity for me to continue to grieve Evan. And so we've been the last few weeks just in this tailspin of my wife has spent countless hours at a laptop and on the phone and banks and just trying to figure out everything that we can get them that they don't already have, because they already have all of our records and we have no ability to get them. I think the real issue is they just want to make sure that we're being compliant, which both they and our lawyers have thanked us and said, listen, usually this takes a lot longer than it does, but you're a long way with the ball down the court because you've been very complicit, which shows us you have nothing to hide. And so the government's been very gracious.
I gotta tell you, they don't raid homes of very famous pastors unless there's something there, unless they have some kind of proof, anything. This does not happen. We are entering a Christian nationalist moment in U.S. history. They don't just raid pastors for the fuck of it. Also, check this out. I've been working on BookForge, and I did something really cool yesterday, okay? So check this out. This is BookForge. And I built a model of my own voice out of curiosity. I'm not going to use it probably for anything really. I just wanted to see how it would turn out because it's like a hobby. I just enjoy doing that. Let me see where I used my book to do it, to build it. Here's BookForge right here. This is what I call bookshelf actually. And I used a voice model of my own voice to TTS this book. Let's see how it sounds. It just finished.
Truth, at least the one time. He got...
Wait a minute. Let me turn it up.
Got into a fight with the enemy and bravely chucked his bottle at him. And there on the wall of his study was the red splotch where it hit and broke. But it was Father Peter, the other priest, whom we all loved the most and felt sorriest for.
Felt sorriest for. Like, I wouldn't say that. But that's pretty fucking good, right?
Some people accused him of going around saying that God was all goodness and would find a way to save every one of his poor human children. It was a terrible thing to say, but there was never any solid proof that Father Peter actually said it. And it was out of character for him anyway, since he was always kind and gentle and honest. He wasn't accused of saying it from the pulpit, where the whole congregation could hear it and back it up. Only in private talk, which is exactly the kind of thing enemies can make up. And Father Peter did have an enemy, a powerful one. The astrologer, who lived in a crumbling old tower up the valley and spent his nights studying the stars. Everyone knew he could predict wars and famines, though that wasn't hard, since there was always a war and usually a famine somewhere. But he could...
That's fucking good. I'm really impressed. They made me Canadian, yes. Sorriest. Anyway, so I built out this new feature that I'm really kind of proud of, honestly. So you pick out the book. You got a sentence cache. You hit correct sentences. It takes you to this. By the way, this is all open source if you guys want to mess around with it. It's on my GitHub. github.com/telltaleatheist. It's also available on owenmorgan.com/tools, but I haven't updated it there recently. I update it regularly on GitHub if you want to try to build it. Anyway, you can pick out a sentence.
The book follows 3 boys in a sleepy Austrian village who befriend a beautiful, charming visitor named Satan.
And if it doesn't quite sound right, you can hit the little flag here. And let's listen to this one.
He never finished it. He left 3 separate, incomplete attempts among his papers when he died in 1910. Scholars call them the Eseldorf, Hannibal, and Printshop manuscripts. The longest, set in the Austrian village of Eseldorf, he titled The Chronicle of Young Satan, and it is the basis of the story you are about to read.
That's actually really good. I'm going to keep that one. But just as an example, I'm going to flag 2 more, and then hit done. Takes you to the page, and you can edit the text if you want. Let me change it to this book. This book follows 3 boys. And then what they did to get there was... Let me just try to change something basic. They took the unfinished... They took the... Yeah, I'm just going to... Yeah, I don't want to mess it up too much, so I'm just going to leave it at that. Now I'm going to re-roll all 3. Done. And now it's generating. You can see it at the bottom here, generating 0 of 9. And it's going to create 3 new samples using different temperature settings for each of the sentences. And you can see my memory spiking right now as it loads the Orpheus model. I'm sorry, the Orpheus engine. It takes about 3 minutes to text-to-speech brand new sets, but, you know, if you don't like sentences, you can adjust them, you can change the text, you can re-roll with new temperature levels, which means it's going to get more aggressive and more free with how it pronounces things. And then you can pick which one you want, you can insert it, and you can reassemble the whole book. I think that's really impressive, right? Why don't you make an app or game, Owen? I know the girl who did... Wait. Randonautica? Interesting. I've never heard of that. I've been making apps out the wazoo. I mean, over the years, this app right here, this is Briefcase. I've been building this app for at least 2 years. 3 maybe? And it's also available on owenmorgan.com/tools, but I haven't actually updated this one either. I will soon. There you go, generating. It's generated 3 of 9. Now that the model is loaded, I mean the engine. Now that the engine is loaded and it's chugging along, it's going to be a lot faster. But yeah, I trained this model last night on my own voice, and I think it's really, really good. Very impressive. I'll come back to that in a second, but just listen to this one. This is also text-to-speech.
Dogged tenacity, it kept the forest at bay. Hunter looked away, disgusted at the panic that still tore at him, blind and stupid and...
Damn, it's clipping because it's too loud. I don't know why that is. Oh, it's set to 300. That's why. Try again.
And almost overwhelming. If there's any hope for this squad's survival, he thought bitterly, it lies with those Marines, not with me. They're fighting men, and I'm not any longer. It seemed to take forever to reach the edge of the forest, but suddenly the pressing darkness gave way to sharp, brilliant light, and the air was clean and fresh again. The squad staggered away from the boundary, weak with shock and relief, but still somehow holding formation and keeping their guns trained on the forest.
I think that's fucking really good quality. Really, really good quality. All right, let's check Book Forge. It's at 6 of 9. Okay, the sentence generation takes forever, but you get the idea. I'm really proud of that. I would really like it to finish because I'd like to show you guys. And then we'll get back to Greg Locke in a second. Hang on. And I'm thinking we're also going to... we might also read... Something fell. I don't know what that was. I'm thinking we're also going to read Killing America. Where did Killing America go? At the end of the day, today, we're going to read Killing... Where the fuck is Killing America? There it is. I may re-TTS this.
Chapter 3.
Because this was made with a slightly less robust voice model.
The Facade. The Fab 8 IN 1991.
Yeah, and it's obviously got some problems, but... Here you go. It finished. Okay, so here's an example. It re-rolled and gave me 3 new takes with different entropy.
The book follows 3 boys in a sleepy Austrian village who befriend a beautiful, charming visitor named Satan.
That's the original. Okay, here's take 1. This is supposed to be more strict and by the book and less... It's called prosody. It's worse prosody.
This book follows 3 boys in a sleepy Austrian village who befriend a beautiful, charming visitor named Satan.
I think that one's better. Here's another one that's more erratic, has more entropy, and is more random, basically.
This book follows 3 boys in a sleepy Austrian village who befriend a beautiful, charming visitor named Satan.
And here's the maximum entropy that I programmed in.
This book follows 3 boys in a sleepy Austrian village who befriend a beautiful, charming visitor named Satan.
That's really good. I think I'm actually going to keep this one. So I'm going to hit take 1 and hit approve, and it clears it out of the list.
What they did to get there was, by modern standards, a quiet act of... What they did to get there was, by modern standards, a quiet act of forgery. They took the unfinished chronicle of young... What they did to get there was, by modern standards, a quiet act of forgery. They took the unfinished...
Notice how that pause was gone in take 2. That was the result of repetition penalty being too high.
Chronicle of young Satan as their spine, cut passages they disliked, and changed the story's date from 1702 to 1590. Then they grafted onto the end a concluding chapter lifted from an entirely different manuscript.
That one's the best, for sure.
Renaming its characters to match this one, and announcing that they had simply found the ending among Twain's papers. They also blunted the book's anti-Catholic edge by inventing a larger role for the village astrologer, shifting onto cruelties and villainies that Twain had originally written for the priest, Father Adolf.
That one's good. I'm going to approve that one. Then I hit rebuild audiobook. Done. Go to the queue. I hit start, and it builds the new sentences in. Boom. I'm just really impressed with what I built yesterday. I think that's really cool. All right, I'm sorry for the detour. Let's continue with Locke.
In the way that they've backtracked. They came in super hot, but wouldn't you? I mean, the things they've said for the last 2 years, no wonder they came in guns a-blazing. But they quickly began...
Fucking please, yeah. This is all about just haters online coming at you, right? You wouldn't do anything bad. You wouldn't take advantage of church coffers to benefit yourself. You wouldn't do such a thing. It's all the haters. They're all after you, trying to hurt you, right? You're the persecuted minority in every single situation, even when you're the majority.
To realize, wow, we got one joke out of the whole thing. The lead investigator of no relation has the last name Locke. My wife said that's unfortunate.
Why is that unfortunate? I don't get it. Was that supposed to be like a joke or something, or?
But it has been, wow, it has been a journey. I think the reason we sleep at night well is because it's going to be fine. It just, governmental processes can take a long time. We're praying for a swift restoration. The books will just be closed, exoneration. I mean, the more they dig, the more they realize these are the most benevolent people in this congregation we've really ever.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. They are not benevolent in any way, shape, or form. Greg Locke lies like he breathes. He twists things around and takes advantage of people. You can't be serious with this. He stole money from the church, objectively, factually. The church purchased his $1.6 million home, and he doesn't even have a building for the church yet. Do not tell me you're benevolent.
For men, they don't know what to do with a church like ours that's given all the money away through the years and really has nothing to show for it, but mad people they gave money to. And so I think the one real deep salvageability in the whole thing is when they took our records, they took my generosity journals that I've been writing for a few years. And they're like, holy smokes. This guy's not only given a ton of money away to people all over the world, but the guy's given 100 times more to the church than the church has ever given into his family. And
Absolutely not. That is not true at all. The problem is, here's the thing with tax-exempt status, okay? There's a reason tax-exempt status exists. Here it is. 501c3 organizations exist because they're supposed to be a benefit to society. They're supposed to be filling a gap that the government can't or isn't filling. You know, homeless shelters, hospitals, organizations that are fighting for civil rights, that kind of thing. That is a tangible, real good that organizations are providing to society that government is not providing to society or can't for one reason or another, because the government shouldn't be in control of civil rights litigation, right? What tangible, real benefit do churches provide to society? Real. I'm not talking some invisible fucking promise that one day, you know, any 5 minutes now, you're gonna go to heaven because God's gonna send his angels down here with guns and swords and shit to kill people that he doesn't like. Don't give me that. What real benefit is church as an institution offering to society? It's not. There is no benefit to church. There are beneficial things that churches do, like homeless shelters and hospitals and things. But first of all, those things come with strings attached most of the time. You can't just go to a homeless shelter that's run by evangelical fucking nutcases. You can't just go to a hospital that's run by evangelical nutcases and just get care, just get a home. They expect shit of you. They expect you to go to their stupid fucking services or whatever. They expect you to not be gay. If it's a non-profit organization that's benefiting from tax-exempt status, they absolutely should not be allowed to discriminate against people under any circumstances, just like any other nonprofit. And they absolutely should not be getting tax-exempt status for simply holding church services. They need to be providing some real tangible good, something real. Like, for example, a homeless shelter. And if they do have a homeless shelter, give tax-exempt status to that, not to the church. Why the fuck would the church need that tax-exempt status? Any money that goes in or comes out of that homeless shelter can be tax exempt, as long as they're not discriminating against people for religious reasons. Why the fuck does the church get tax exempt status? So the point is, churches don't deserve tax exempt status. You should be doing something for society to earn that. And they're not doing jack shit for society. Your generous giving, quote unquote, was you being generous, and you deserve to have that written off on your taxes. Sure, I can get my taxes written off if I do generous things. Anybody can. You don't have to be a nonprofit for that. Everything he does is tax exempt. In his mind, at least. That's unacceptable. That is gaming the system. That's taking advantage of the infrastructure that exists for the public good. You're taking advantage of that infrastructure, and it's fucking wrong. And yet, why do you have a generosity journal exactly? That's a good point, Dizzy Frisbee. Why is there a generosity journal? Why don't you just, like, give people that shit? Yeah, record it in your files, record it in your whatever, you know, your accounting software, whatever. But you're telling me you keep a journal of all of the generous things you do? Okay.
So there's been no personal benefit. And so it's been a wild journey. It's been a humbling journey for a guy like me that just knows he could come out hot and rile people up.
So I refuse to be a complete piece of shit and try to attack these agents. I refused to do the immoral, unethical thing. And I want credit for that. Yeah, that sounds right.
And we have people, by the way, that do know about this context that are angry that I haven't done it. And they'll have to get over it.
I mean, isn't that exactly what he's doing right now? Why are you talking about this publicly if you don't expect people to get whipped into a blood frenzy over this and try to do something fucking psychotic? Let me tell you, with an audience of 2.2 million, as he has, he could, just talking about this is 100%, absolutely going to get these agents unmasked and attacked without a shadow of a doubt. Because that's the nature of large platforms. I know what I'm talking about. Just talking about this is going to destroy these agents' lives.
Because I've grown, and when I became a man, I put away childish things, and I don't have time to fight. Listen, you'll know when it's time for us to fight the government. It's when the Antichrist shows up, and we'll fight that joker. And we'll go down swinging, and we'll use the platform God's given us for it. But now's not the time to fight. Now's the time to believe God for a water-walking miracle.
Well, I appreciate that he's telling people not to attack them, I guess. But these nutcases are absolutely still going to.
But here's why I had to share the brutal embarrassment of such a moment, that we have nothing to hide, and so maybe it's not nearly that embarrassing. Because it's a federal investigation, the next week, 2 weeks ago, we went to conduct our normal business, and because the government had subpoenaed the records from our banks, the bank said, sorry, all of your accounts are canceled immediately. So they canceled all of our Global Vision accounts.
Holy shit, is this real? I don't know. I can't tell. I have no idea if it's real.
We have operated, I don't know how, we have operated this church for 2 weeks with no income and no outflow. Now, for those that will be giving later, We're praying that
we take payments in cash, and yeah, of course.
the Lord this week will do a Red Sea miracle and give us a bank so we can put the checks in. PushPay, this will be the first weekend that PushPay, our online giving platform for those watching online, that it won't go through to an account, but you can still give because PushPay will hold it in their containment online for a couple of weeks until there's a place to disseminate the funds to. But listen.
So let me tell you something about the way the government works. The government does not cancel your bank accounts and raid your house if you did nothing wrong. They don't do that shit to a famous pastor unless they have hard evidence. That's just what it is.
Kudos to our entire leadership team. They have gone without any pay, and all of them say, "Preacher, we're riding at dawn. We're not here for a paycheck." None of them.
Well, of course he's going to be making them whole, obviously, right?
Have received any pay whatsoever. And even when we get an account, I'm not going to go back on the payroll in any way. Obviously they canceled our personal accounts as well, and so we've been scrambling. We have one small checking account at another bank that we've been able to utilize, and we've basically been living on Cash App and PayPal for a couple of weeks. My family, that is. The church, we could not at this second buy a stick of gum.
Why? Why is that? Why did that happen, Greg? Can you elaborate? Is it because you're a persecuted minority? Is that why? Or did you actually do something really unethical that led you down this road? People have been blowing the whistle on this for a while.
With offerings, last Sunday's offering sitting in a safe, waiting on a bank, which is not as easy as you would think, because the story is what has to be told when we're opening a business account. We can't lie to them. So all the banks in this area have told us no. We've for almost 2 weeks now. Credit unions, closed door, closed door, closed door. So we are literally a Book of Acts church that is functioning with no income.
Oh my God. Having your income taken because of financial malfeasance. I'm not going to say mismanagement. That's the word other people are using. Because of financial malfeasance makes you more holy, is what you're saying? Corruptly having the church buy you a house before it buys a fucking building for itself makes you more holy?
And no ability to pay any bills whatsoever, unless it's cash. And who carries that these days, right?
Oh, this is a callback to... This is basically him signaling that this is the Antichrist at work. He thinks that when we move to a cashless society, the Antichrist is going to appear and revoke Christians' ability to make purchases if they don't take a mark on their hand or their forehead or whatever other stupid shit he believes.
So it's been a very... it's been the most trying time of 20 years of pastoring this church. And I'm at more peace than I have been in such a long time. Because look, I am so far out of the boat. God either teaches me to walk on water or he just lets me drown. And I refuse. He's brought me this far to let me drown.
I refuse to let me drown, he says. I refuse to let me drown. Okay. It sounded like he was taking credit for what God is doing for a second there.
So maybe somebody in the house, maybe somebody online. We have one option for a bank that works with ministries and patriots that have been debanked because of J6 or because of...
Oh my God. What is it? Patriot Bank or something. I don't remember the name of it now.
COVID protocols. We think that will work. We'll not know until tomorrow, Tuesday, the latest, Lord willing. We've been told by every bank in this town, so there's no reason to, unless you're the president of one, to give us that option because it's not there. It's been wild. It came at a time when not only our family was already down, but when the church was already financially in the kerfuffle, right? We had already been down with our giving because...
I bet, yeah. Already been down with the giving. Let me tell you a little secret about Greg Locke and his church. He doesn't need people to give money to succeed with his church. I know, as a social media person, as a content creator, I know for a fact he doesn't even need people to give money. He is fucking swimming in money right now. And all of this guilt-tripping fucking garbage infuriates me. Okay, Kenneth Copeland did this exact same shit during COVID. COVID hits, and he says, I don't care if you don't have a can of beans to your name. You donate money to the church. You keep donating. He said it in not so many words. Let me actually get the actual clip. Why not? Let me find it. Hold on. Where was it? Was this?
I was noticing.
Yeah, this is... No.
Fear of this.
This right here.
Fear of this coronavirus is faith in its ability to hurt you or kill you.
This came out in 2020, March 2020. Lockdowns, people are losing their jobs. Everything is falling apart. We don't know what this is. We don't know if it's curable. We don't know if it'll fucking kill you or what. Morgues filling up so much they had to bring in freezer trucks to store the bodies. And he comes out here and he says this.
The fear of, what are we going to do? I'm getting laid off at work. Hey, your job's not your source. If it is, you're in trouble.
It literally is your source of money. Your job is literally your source of money. What the fuck are you talking about? Your job is not your source of income?
Jesus is your source.
He's literally not, though.
Whatever you do right now, don't you stop tithing. Don't you stop sowing offerings. Well, they won't let us go to church. Well, email it in there, text give or something, but you get your tithe in that church. If you have to go take it down there and drop it off and stick it under the door or something, you get that tithe in that church, you get that offering in that church, and then you go home and you do what we're supposed to do.
So no matter what, even if you have lost your job, you continue giving money to the church.
Of the same people that propagated what caused the raid, which is fine. I love every one of them, and I wish them no evil, and I pray blessings over all of them. So here's where things get fun. And then we worship, because you know what the Bible says? When we worship, God turns our situation around. When Job worshiped, he got back twice as much as the devil took from him.
Yeah. First of all, that wasn't the devil in Job. Satan did not exist at that point. Jews did not believe in Satan back then when this was written around 600 BCE. It was just one of God's angels who was just asking, hey, you think this guy would worship you if blah, blah, blah? And God was like, I don't know. Let's give it a shot. Let's really fuck this guy's life up and see what happens. That was the actual, real origin of the story. And so what did he do? He took the dude's kids. He killed the dude's children. And then got him married to some other woman, and that woman gave him more children. Wow, fantastic. God gave him more children after his first ones had died. Great. That solves everything.
And I heard Pastor Jim Cymbala of the Brooklyn Tabernacle the other night at Hillcrest Baptist Church preach and say, God specializes in getting stolen goods back.
He does. I thought God specialized in forgiving sin, Pastor. My mistake. I guess I was incorrect about the Bible.
So all of this, with already difficult financial pressure moving in, it's affected our insurance. It's affected this building that we are in. So in a few minutes, we're going to worship. I'm going to preach. We're going to take an offering. We're going to give like we got 10 bank accounts. Because I'm giving by faith today and believing God's going to...
You're not giving jack shit today, Greg. You're telling other people to give. What the fuck do you mean you're giving like you have 10 bank accounts? This dude is so fucking transparent. What a weasel.
Do a miracle. But not only... And I'm just talking to the water walkers in the room. For people that get super discouraged, you're already, grieved by this, you just don't have so much drama, that's fine. Our doors will stay open to you, but I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to water walkers.
Water walkers? Okay.
Faith-filled people. Because in 1 month from right now, we have no building. And that's okay.
In 1 month, we will have no building. Interesting. So is he saying, and that's okay? So he's really laying it on thick here, right? Give me money because I want to keep the church open because I lost my bank account for financial malfeasance. He can't just leave it at, we have one bank account, so you can donate to this bank account. He can't just leave it there. He has to, really lean in, doesn't he?
And some of my friends, man, they love me. They love this church. They love my family, my wife. But I have friends that are saying, Pastor, you could just go back to being an evangelist and make plenty of money and preach wherever you want to. And through the week, I will have to take some meetings just so our family can survive. But I told all of my friends, I love you and I thank you for your wisdom. But I don't feel like God wants me to abandon the church.
He thinks that being an evangelist would mean abandoning the church. This dude gets all kinds of money from all kinds of places, okay? He made a movie that went to actual movie theaters. I think it was called In the Name of Jesus or something like that, or Come Out in the Name of Jesus. It's on YouTube for sale. He's getting money from those sales and those ads. He's on Rumble. He's on FaceSpace or MyBook or whatever. He's on all kinds of things that are monetized. He's making plenty of fucking money. Do not let him lie to you and convince you that he is broke. He's not. How much does this church building realistically cost every month? $5,000 a month, maybe? For rent and utilities and whatever else. Keep the doors open. The staff isn't taking a payment, right? So he doesn't have labor costs. He's making significantly more than $5,000 a month right now. I know how social media works. I know how monetization works. He's making more than that right now. And he said he has a bank account, so.
It's not time to lay down. It's not time to shut the doors. It's not time to quit.
Oh, yeah, and you know what else? Do you know what banks do when they close your account? They mail you a check with your remaining balance. They don't just take that money and keep it. How much money did he have in his bank account? Millions, probably? Once you find a new bank account, you can dude, I put all the hard fucking work into putting this thing together, and now it's not put together again. Son of a bitch. And I'm sorry, what was I saying? I'm trying to remember now. Oh, he has a bank account. He has a bank account. Dude, really? This... Fuck. I can't auto-build this now because this fucking thing is... Alright. He has a bank account and he has the money. Do not tell me that you need money from others. This is the type of corrupt shit that I hear from pastors that really infuriates the shit out of me, genuinely. What the fuck is wrong with him?
I feel like this is my moment to be a real Bible Moses, to lead the people out of the wilderness into the promised land. And so we literally are in a church with no building and no bank account, but a big God that's going to turn the whole situation around, and he's going to do something for the glory of God. Stand on your feet, because we're going to worship the Lord for a few. Get down to the front. Let's worship. Listen, if you're going to stick with us, get down to the front and let's lift our hands. We're going to watch God do miracles financially. He's going to give us a bank. He's going to give us a building. He's going to give us everything that we need. He's going to turn this situation around. We're going to get a full accusatory governmental pardon, and we're going to watch those that have said what they said have to sit in silence and watch us eat at the very table that's been prepared for us in the presence of our enemies. Let's worship the Lord for a few moments, and then we're going to get into the Word of God. Shout hallelujah to the Lord today.
Okay, anyway. Wow, dude. Jesus fucking Christ. What a lying sack of shit. Genuinely. Tell me what you think in the comments. Okay, I'm gonna put a marker in here and we'll come back around to this. Let's just see here. Let me just look. Yeah, there's more singing here.
A team and our leader booked the
this?
Bottom Bomb on Nashville, Tennessee, and it's going to be beautiful. The Ryman Auditorium was started by Mr. Ryman, who was a seaman who actually got saved.
He was a what?
And he had all of these boats, and he would go, back and forth. But then he became a riverboat captain, and he'd never wanted his name on the building, so they renamed it after he died. In May the 25th of 1890, 2 years before its grand opening, Methodist evangelist Sam Jones preached to a standing room only crowd. And it was known as the Church of Nashville for many, many decades. And so tonight we...
Okay, I'm going to pause it on that. And we may circle back around to this later. We'll see. That was insane. That was absolutely wild. Yeah, tell me what you think in the comments. And we're going to listen to this book. Hold on. Yeah, we're good. Okay. Let me just see if I can, yeah, all right. Let me pull up Gene Bailey.
I love President.
Yeah. Okay. Dude on the left here is Gene Bailey. He wrote this book titled Killing America. It's basically about how all the communists and socialists are killing us all. It's insane. I want to listen to the book. I converted it to speech with a text-to-speech program I wrote. Let's give it a listen. It messes up fairly often, but, it's readable.
Chapter 3. The Facade. The Fabade in 1991, about a year or so after the Berlin Wall fell.
All right, in 1991, about a year after the Berlin Wall fell,
Gene was sent to Russia by the Kenneth Copeland Ministries, KCM, to do some work for them alongside Rick Renner Ministries, who was based in Latvia at that time. The flight made a connection in Germany where I, along with 2 other guys with me, changed planes that flew us on to Latvia. At that point in time, Latvia had just come out from under Soviet occupation that had begun in 1940, I had no idea of the eye-opening experience that lay ahead of us. Our plane touched down at an airport in Riga, Latvia, but instead of pulling up to the gate like occurs at most airports, it came to a stop right in the middle of a crude, potholed, and cracked runway. In fact, there was no gate or building to pull up to at all. It seemed like it was just our jet sitting on an eroded landing strip, surrounded by pasture and trees.
So, after the Berlin Wall fell in like 1989, is that when, I think? He went to Latvia and it was all dilapidated and run down. Okay, awesome.
One of the crew popped open the door and put the ladder down. The pilot got out first, found our luggage, and tossed it on the ground. Then...
I'm sorry, I don't believe a word out of his mouth, but whatever.
He hopped back in the plane and took off, leaving the three of us standing there looking around. I kid you not, the jet was full of people, and we were the only 3 passengers who got off. They basically dropped us off in the middle of the runway. And did I mention it was cold? Then we noticed a dilapidated building that was the airport terminal. I'm sure there was some sort of radio communication inside, but it was not at all what you would expect. It was like going back in time to 1945. Remember, this was supposedly an international airport. We were flying in from Germany. We hauled our exhausted bodies and luggage over to the falling apart building, where a guy who didn't speak any English met us. He stamped our passports and said stuff we didn't understand. Finally, someone from Rick Renner's
Okay, so you didn't speak the language then, is what you're saying? Fine.
ministry came to pick us up.
So someone from Rick Renner's ministry picked them up. Got it.
Rick Renner Ministries partnered with KCM, and God has used them to build an impactful ministry in Russia and around the world. Today, Rick's television broadcasts have millions of potential viewers. They have seen several million people accept Christ. At one point, his ministry oversaw more than 800 churches and pastors throughout the former Soviet Union. Today, Rick and his wife oversee the Moscow Good News Church with over 2,000 active members, as well as other affiliates around Moscow and in other parts of the former Soviet Union.
Wow. Okay.
Rick is the founder and overseer of the Internet Good News Church, a fully online church with more than 200,000 members worldwide who are Russian speakers. But of course, back in 1990, all of it was just a seed and a vision.
Right? Because it was... The Soviet Union was nationally atheist, right? They didn't believe in God officially. And then the Russian Orthodox Church took over in the area, and people it got like corrupted with religion.
For us 3 guys, the airport experience in Riga was just the beginning of a 14-day trip through Minsk, Belarus, then on to Lithuania, and finally Moscow, including a dreadful midnight train ride into Moscow. The poor, depressed-looking passengers on board were impoverished beyond what most Americans could imagine. Plus, the trains back in those days were filthy and foul-smelling, with windows screwed down so passengers couldn't let any fresh air in or escape if you wanted to. The experience was dehumanizing. This, along with the primitive airport we flew into, was the first of many shocks the trip would bring. Here was the great country of Russia we had seen in the media growing up.
Oh, yeah. They're going to go hard against communism and atheism, right, with this?
There were air raid drills in school when we hid under our desks because of what this USSR superpower may do.
Yeah, that was called the Red Scare, dumbass. Did you really fall for that shit? Yeah, the Soviet Union was concerning and bad. I didn't like the Soviet Union. Of course, I was like literally 2 when it fell, or something like that. Soviet Union bad, yes, absolutely. It was an authoritarian dictatorship, but for what it's worth, that's what he's trying to set up in the United States today.
Yet the reality before me now was the opposite of a superpower. The country's infrastructure back in those days was crumbling and ruined. Extreme poverty was everywhere. On the street, we even encountered people trying to sell us military hats and coats, even their uniforms for a couple of dollars, because their dollar, the ruble, had fallen so far as to be worthless. It was horrible. On one hand, it was really sad, but on the other hand, we were like, wait a minute.
Yeah, that is what dictatorship does. Dictatorships destroy everything. Fascism destroys everything. Although fascism and the Soviet Union, those are complicated terms. I don't know that I'd call it fascist exactly. It is certainly authoritarian. Now, 40 years later, Gene Bailey is advocating for and lobbying for a dictatorship in the United States. I'm not saying that flippantly. I mean, he wants a dictatorship under Trump. This guy does. Whether you believe this is a dictatorship or whatever, completely immaterial to the fact that he wants one. It is pushing us toward that harder and faster. My old high school nickname, Harder and Faster.
This is the big con job, because the country, portrayed as a superpower during the collapse of the USSR, is anything but. The military was weak and unmotivated. Once we arrived in Moscow, we went to the famous Red Square. Having heard about it and seen pictures my whole life.
Okay, I thought that was a text-to-speech error, and it meant to say Red Scare, but it was actually Red Square. All right.
Then to be standing in the center of it was surreal. Another thing that shocked me, at that early moment when the USSR had just collapsed, were all the Christian missionaries from America speaking English. It was like a wave of good news flowing into a dry and thirsty land. After the wall fell, Russia opened up to the gospel, and America faithfully sent her missionaries. When people's hearts are changed by the gospel and Holy Spirit, a grassroots change begins to take place in society. Like we pointed out in Chapter 1, Lady Liberty still sends out more missionaries to spread the gospel than any other nation on the planet.
That might be. I could see that, I suppose.
The United States sends roughly 135,000 long-term missionaries compared to Brazil, which is second with 40,000. We believe this is one reason God continues to bless the USA.
Oh, yeah? And is Brazil blessed in the exact same way? Is Brazil a powerful world power that can sway public opinion and all that shit? And it's, it has no slave labor or any of that other shit because God is blessing them? Is that what it is?
And also why the enemy wants so desperately to kill us. Can you imagine the dark impact on the world if we were no longer able to send out missionaries?
Oh, please, dude. What benefit are missionaries even providing in the world right now? I mean, real tangible benefit. What real benefit are missionaries providing? The answer is they aren't providing any real tangible benefit. Any tangible benefits like food or shelter or whatever that they're providing comes with strings attached.
Despite the presence of many missionaries, back in those days it still was an eerie feeling to be there in Russia. We could feel freedom suffocating away as the walls of communism closed in around us.
Please.
There was an underlying spirit of fear among the people. One unsettling aspect about Moscow was the city streets. It is well known in Moscow that there was once a prison below street level. No one knows exactly how big it is. Especially during Stalin's time, people went in there, but many never came out. Back in those earlier times, it was common for a van to pull up on a city street in Moscow, grab someone, and that person was never heard from again.
Yep, that happened in Germany as well. And I just want to point out that the problem here is not the communism or the socialism or even necessarily the capitalism or the corporatism. The problem the thing that's creating this problem is the authoritarianism. It's the people who are controlling things with an iron grip by force. It's the fact that Hitler and Stalin and whoever else are not allowing people to have any degree of freedom. And Trump, by the way. Taking people's rights away with no due process, sending them to foreign concentration camps, that kind of thing. Trump's doing that right now. The problem is the authoritarianism, not the communism. And I can't help but notice that Gene Bailey is on the same political spectrum as the Nazis were. He holds the same political beliefs as the Nazis. If you want to avoid that, maybe find a different ideology to adhere to.
During our visit, the spirit of fear was never more tangible than in our guide. He would tremble and then run away whenever a car drove near us that looked like a government official's car. It was eye-opening because we have such personal freedom and security in America. However, that same type of fear is trying to overtake us today, creating an atmosphere of fear, whether through lockdowns, masks, global warming, or guns, has been—
Oh, fucking please. Yeah. An atmosphere of fear brought to you by masks.
another weapon used in the attempt to kill America. If they can keep us fearful, they can control us. However, the Word of God tells us, "For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind." 2 Timothy 1. This is another reason they hate the Bible and us. Though the walls in Russia had come down and the gates opened, The devastating effects of the poisonous system clung to the people and culture like an infectious disease. My big takeaway lesson from my time there was how things can be portrayed as one way, when reality is completely different. But now that the walls were down, we were able to go inside the Kremlin for a tour of the museums there. Once we crossed that gate into the inside of the giant courtyard of the Kremlin, suddenly the streets were paved, as if we were in northeastern Virginia. The trees were...
Yeah, that's called government corruption, and Trump is like the king of it right now.
Beautiful, the landscape manicured. Mercedes, BMWs, Cadillacs were everywhere. Yet just outside those walls, people's cars were in horrible condition, rusted, smoking Russian clunkers. The infrastructure was crumbling, and poverty abounded. From 1929 through 1953, Joseph Stalin tried desperately to squash religious freedom and conducted brutal campaigns against the Bible and the church. They shut down churches, confiscated Bibles, even killed and imprisoned Christians, especially leaders. Stalin saw this as a way of getting rid of a past that was holding people back and marching towards the future of science and progress, says historian Stephen Merritt Minor.
Okay, who the fuck is this? Stephen Minor? Stephen Merritt Minor? I'm sorry. Stalin was trying to avoid progress? No. That's nonsense. The church represents traditionalist values. What the fuck are you talking about? If he wanted to maintain old views of the world, he would have promoted the church.
Does that sound familiar? The reality is, however, instead of marching toward progress, Stalin accelerated the violence and oppression of the Leninist period. What's interesting is when Stalin made his speech, he was standing only feet away from a magnificent historical church that had honored saints buried there. But St. Basil's Cathedral was now merely a monument of a greater past. So it's one thing to say, God is dead, but they weren't going to tear down the edifices they had built to honor all the great revivalists who had come through Russia centuries ago. How does that work? How can they say God is dead over here, but 20 feet away from them is a stunning cathedral that could never be replaced? Those pillars of Christianity in Russia had been buried and memorialized, even though the leaders, from Lenin to Stalin, all the way until before the wall came down, were declaring atheism as the state doctrine. The era of communist rule began in 1917, and Karl Marx, co-author of The Communist Manifesto, declared, "Communism begins where atheism begins."
I'm not sure that's real. Let me see if I can look this up. You know what? Actually, let me just write something down so I don't forget. I can view the analyses in Bookforge with tooltips. Yeah. Let me see if I can find out about this. Hang on. Sorry, I just need one more second. I'm almost done here. Okay. Yeah. I'm just trying to find out about the Communist Manifesto quote specifically. Because I don't trust a word out of Gene Bailey's mouth, especially when it comes to communism. He's completely untrustworthy. Let's see here. One second. I'm still looking. Okay, I think I found it. Give me 1 second, though. I'm going to let this play. I'm going to go use the bathroom real fast. Be right back.
I love President Trump. In my estimation, as far as the performance, as far as what he did, I think he is the most godly president in my lifetime. Now, he's not necessarily such a godly person. And the way he talks, I often say that the only time he opens his mouth is to change feet. Yep. I mean, he just is, he's his own worst enemy. So I'm not just saying I am 100% for anything Trump wants to do, but I do believe that when he came in, one of the serious mistakes he made, he was gullible. And he didn't realize how bad the deep state was.
No, he did.
And I've heard him say that he was used to dealing with the mafia and that they had integrity compared
exactly
to the
right. There were some standards. They had some standards.
And anyway, he was fooled and allowed people inside the White House to stay on staff that were sending out things and revealing things and doing stuff. But I can guarantee you, if Trump gets elected again, he's not naive this time. I think he'll come in and clean house.
I believe he will. And I think that's been the biggest jump for people to have to deal with is, you know, they're not electing a pastor, they're electing a president. And I want the guy in charge that you just don't know what he might do. You want that guy that he's got his finger on the button. Not that he would push it, but that.
Okay. That is not from the Communist Manifesto. It comes from Marx's Economic and Philosophic Manuscripts of 1844, the Paris Manuscripts / early writings, in the section on private property and communism, an unpublished notebook from 4 years before the manifesto. But here's what Marx actually wrote there. Communism begins where atheism begins, but atheism is, at the outset, still far from being communism. Indeed, it is still, for the most part, an abstraction. So he's kind of downgrading or denigrating atheism in that part of the book. He's not promoting it and saying that they are one and the same. This is fear-mongering garbage, and he has no idea what he's talking about. I love that he just sticks the most random, nonsensical trash in here, and he doesn't even bother fact-checking what he wrote. Like, when I wrote my book, God's People, Christian Nationalism in the Third Reich, I fact-checked to within an inch of its life. I fact-checked to Mars and back. I didn't, like, even the way that I word a single sentence may not contain any facts, but it gives people a specific impression. I have to cut that sentence if it could give them the wrong impression. I was so fucking careful about my fact checking. And this dude just doesn't give a fuck. That drives me insane. Did I see the email you sent on Sunday? Wait. I think so. I get a notification on my phone when you email me, so it pops up. Oh, the portals thing. Yes, I did. I did see that. Yeah, I did. All right, let's continue. So, like, this whole sentence here is just a flat-out, blatant, bald-faced fucking lie. Is the point.
The era of communist rule began in 1917, and Karl Marx, co-author of The Communist Manifesto, declared, "Communism begins where atheism begins."
No.
Socialism, Marxism, and communism had ruled with great promise and fanfare. Yet before me, I was seeing the brutal truth played out. It's a reality that the progressives in America want to ignore.
Okay, first of all, the progressives in America are not communists. And communism is not socialism. They are different from each other. And also, the problems that were being caused in the Soviet Union were not because of communism. They were because of authoritarianism, obviously. But okay, just lie and make things up and blame people for things who you find convenient to blame, whatever. We all knew he was going to do that.
It was an astounding experience to understand how a government could control religion and thus its people. Similar to Stalin's declaration that God is dead on April 8, 1966, the cover of Time magazine read, "The question was meant to be cynical." John T. Elson, who wrote the article, framed his story as a clarion of the new atheism of the 1960s, a testimony to a cultural crisis of faith in which the very premise of a personal God was coming undone. As we will see, The reality of Elson's statement has proven quite the opposite. Yet at the time, the progressive culture took the bait, hook, line, and sinker. The God is dead philosophy, along with the socialist, communist, hate America teachers, professors, and ideologues.
Oh my God, dude. The hate America teachers and professors, fucking please.
Began poisoning everything. At the same time, Madalyn Murray O'Hair, the activist who founded the American Atheist Organization.
Hey, American Atheist shout out. My wife works for them. She's their legal, legal counsel, policy, something or other. She went to law school, of course, so she's like one of their she's on their legal team, basically. Anyway. Yeah, Madalyn Murray O'Hair. Shout out to Madalyn Murray O'Hair. Okay, let's continue.
In 1963, was instrumental in the Supreme Court's decision to take God and prayer out of the public schools. O'Hair is a testament.
Okay, God and prayer were not taken out of the public schools. I'm sorry, I can't stand for this. The thing that was taken out of public schools is teachers' ability to force children to pray with them. They can no longer force children to pray with them or at all. Children have the right to pray if they want or not pray if they don't want. That's what was taken out of schools. Expanded rights. Parents' rights, if you will. Parents' rights to teach religion to their kids if they want without having it imposed on them by the school.
American Atheist Organization in...
Let me just step back here.
Professors and ideologues began poisoning everything. At the same time, Madalyn Murray O'Hair, the activist who founded the American Atheist Organization in 1963, was instrumental in the Supreme Court's decision to take God and prayer out of the public schools. O'Hair is a testament to the powerful effect that one person can have both negatively and positively. Yet, despite all the anti-God, atheist takeover of our schools and government, God would have the last laugh.
I bet.
He's always moving, and there was a tsunami spiritual awakening called the Jesus Movement. It was a direct response to the anti-God rhetoric being force-fed down the country's throat.
There's anti-God rhetoric being force-fed down the country's throat, really? Wasn't O'Hair killed in some bizarre plot? Believe it or not, it had nothing to do with atheism, but it did have to do with her personal ideological beliefs. Basically, if I remember correctly, I could be wrong, I believe that she hired a felon, believing that felons can be rehabilitated, and I completely agree. I don't think that having a felony should completely destroy your life forever. I think that you should be able to be rehabilitated if you have a felony. Well, she hired this felon to work for her, and he turned out to be a complete psycho. And he cut her up into little pieces and drug her into the woods. And yeah, it was really, really ugly, the whole thing. It was sad. So nothing to do with atheism at all. It was just a bizarre, brutal, sad turn of events that arose from her generosity and ideological principles, unfortunately. I hope I'm getting that story right, but yeah, that's what happened.
The blockbuster movie, The Jesus Revolution, was based on part of it. Some even contend that the Jesus movement revival actually saved America for the time being by turning away the threatening tsunami of darkness. What's wild, almost like God said, just watch me, is that on June 21st, 1971, just 5 years after Elson's cover and article saying, "The Son of God, King of Kings, Lord of Lords, Prince of Peace," and so on. Warning, we are still at large. He is indeed. The article went on to note that the revival cuts across nearly all the social dividing lines, from crew cut to long hair, right to left, rich to poor. It shows considerable staying power. It has been powerful enough to divert many young people from serious drug addiction. The Christian...
No, I'm sorry. This is an important subject to me. Drug addiction. You know, I've been taking Suboxone for 12 years, maybe. A long, long time. Because I was addicted to drugs for a while when I was younger. A couple of years. It destroyed my life in a lot of ways. But I came back from that. And I ended up going to college for substance abuse counseling. a psychology degree. Anyway, church has not turned people's lives away from drug addiction or whatever. As it turns out, AA and NA, which are the church sponsored recovery programs, have atrocious results. Their results are fucking terrible. Their recidivism rate is what it's called. Their recidivism rate is absurdly bad compared to secular therapy, compared to people just going to drug treatment outside of NA or AA. You know why? Because at the end of the day, NA and AA are both religious programs started by religion, for religion, in church basements, and have religious edicts in their expectations or whatever. If you want to really help somebody who's on drugs, don't get them into NA or AA. Get them into something that's actually productive, proven productive.
Coffee houses have opened in many cities, signaling their faith even in their names. The Wayward in Greenwich Village, the Catacombs in Seattle, I Am in Spokane. A strip joint has been converted to a Christian nightclub in San Antonio. Communal Christian houses are multiplying like loaves and fishes for youngsters hungry for homes, many reaching out to the troubled with round-the-clock telephone hotlines. Perhaps what we recently saw occur with what has now been labeled the Asbury Awakening is just the beginning of another tsunami revival. Consider this. From February 8, 2023 through February 24, 2023, approximately 15,000 people a day poured into the Hughes Auditorium simply to worship and cry out to God. By its end, the revival brought 50,000 to 70,000 visitors to Asbury University.
Oh, I remember this. Yeah, no, this is completely made up. They were trying to claim that random revival was springing up all over the country as proof that the end is here, basically. And they had a single example of some like church club that held a weekend-long event where people were coming in and praying and stuff and then leaving or whatever, and they were playing music it was a big marathon music thing. And they claim that this is the revival that was breaking out all over the country as evidence of the end or whatever other stupid shit. It's just nonsense, all of it.
Representing more than 200 academic institutions and multiple countries. That has to have an impact on those institutions. It's supernatural what God can and will do. The point to all this, again, is what those wanting to kill America are putting in front of us. The promises, the agendas, and answers they proclaim are all a facade, just like Soviet Russia was a facade. Gender fluidity is a facade. A trans person may claim they are a certain gender, but the reality is in the biology.
No, you're talking about sex. They are a certain biological sex. You can say that, but gender is in our head. It's the way we understand who we are, and you don't define what my gender is. I do. You have no place to tell me what you think my gender is. It's a self-ascribed label. If other people determine what my gender is, I'm just going to start calling you she. Jean Bailey.
While writing this book, it was announced that a woman transitioned to a man and then got pregnant. The media announced with great enthusiasm that man gives birth.
No, that didn't happen. This was a right-wing smear against people who were just living their fucking lives.
No, it's a facade. The reality is, a woman who thinks she's a man got pregnant and had a baby. The examples of this insanity are endless. We saw there are more than two genders, t-shirt with a rainbow behind those words. Back in 1990, Russia, as I began to comprehend the insane level of corruption, I also started to understand that the average people in Russia up to that point all pretty much got paid the same amount. It sounds like a noble ideal, but it's as corrupt as can be and goes against God's natural law.
That doesn't sound right. Hold on, let's see. Let me see if I can find out what he's talking about here. Give me a second. Caradwin, thank you so much for the gifted subs. I really appreciate that. That is awesome. And Nerical, thank you for the bit so much. Everybody. Means a lot to me. Welcome, Raven's Truth. All right, give me a second. I'm just looking for this. 1 second. Sorry, did not mean to hit the air horn. Okay, just looking at this, the average people all pretty much got paid the same amount. That's not true. That's a common myth, and it's a lie. The USSR ran graded wage scales at various points, 8 to 17 pay categories, and a deliberate wage differentiation policy. Wage differentiation policy that ran from 1930 straight through the late 1980s. The Library of Congress country study lays out an explicit pay hierarchy from the party/artistic elite at the top down to unskilled farm labor at the bottom, with the top decile to bottom decile ratio estimated at roughly 4-to-1 to 10-to-1 in the 1970s. So basically, elite artists were paid 10 times more than farmers. So if a farmer makes $50,000 a year, artists make $500,000 a year. That's how it worked in the Soviet Union. Roughly 4-to-1 to 10-to-1, like I said. Dissident historian Roy Medvedev said senior executives within a single enterprise could earn 10 to 50 times what workers did. So it sounds like what we have today, in America. Except in America, the highest paid employee, the CEO or whoever, is getting paid like 500 times what the lowest paid employee is. I'm just reading here. Hang on. Like, Gene Bailey says everyone got paid the same, and he says insane corruption in the same breath, though. I mean, either there was no insane corruption and people were paid the same, or there was insane corruption and people weren't paid the same, right? Pick one.
Back in 1990, Russia, as I began to comprehend the insane level of corruption, I also started to understand that the average people in Russia up to that point all pretty much got paid the same amount. It sounds like a noble ideal, but it's as corrupt as can be and goes against God's natural law. But
it goes against God's natural law for everybody to be paid fairly? I mean, is that fair to interpret? You can't hear anything.
Our founding fathers
You should be able to. It's showing you can hear. I think it's on your end, Lord Fonzie. Everyone else can hear, right? I believe so.
Recognized. I witnessed firsthand what it meant to live in a place where there was no free enterprise. There was no motivation to work harder because everybody got paid the same. The people were scrambling to make ends meet.
Like, this whole thing is built on a false premise. That's not how it worked, and that's not how anything works.
Yet just around the corner would be a magnificent estate for an elite. For example, when we were in Latvia, we passed this incredible palace, and I asked Rick Renner about it. He said, "This palace was built for Catherine the Great's boyfriend." I was like, her boyfriend? I couldn't believe it. We're talking opulent wealth. But it just wasn't with the people. It was all held by those few at the top. Those who want to kill America have a romantic ideal about equality, but it's an illusion, a facade. Proverbs 14 verse 12 NKJV says, "Our founding fathers understood this. That's why they wrote in the Constitution that men are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights."
I mean, I'm sure I don't need to say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. That wasn't the Constitution. That was the Declaration of Independence. That document was written decades before the United States even existed as a country or had a government of any sort, first of all. And second, that specific line endowed by our Creator, so on and so forth, the point of that was to say that our rights came from outside government, from natural law, not from God. It wasn't about God at all. It was about people being, it was about people having these rights independent of government. Government does not control who has these rights.
But among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. But whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it. Let that sink in.
Yes, through the legal processes. It is the right of the people to alter or abolish it through constitutional amendments or laws or whatever else, yes. I mean, he's obviously implying here that people have a moral duty to overthrow the government.
When the government becomes destructive toward life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it. We must rise up. It's our God-given constitutional right. West Africa. Another time I was in West Africa.
Wow, West Africa. It's not perfect, the TTS isn't, but it's pretty fucking good in my opinion.
Landed in Conakry, Guinea, looking for stories on missionaries or the Christian and Missionary Alliance denomination. We landed at night, slept, got up the next morning, and heard gunfire. The gunfire related to the airport workers who had not been paid, so they were staging a protest. The police and the municipal authorities chimed in, and then the military realized, hey, this is going really well, so they decided to take over the country. That usually meant bad stuff for missionaries and their helpers, so I had to hide out. I was wearing navy ripstop pants that are made for the jungle. I had my boots on. I was ready. I had to hide out for more than 10 days. We couldn't escape the...
I don't really believe a word out of his mouth. I don't think what he's describing here can be trusted. So just be skeptical.
Country until the military left. They were shooting in the air, demolishing property, and killing people. I had family back home who had no clue what was going on. This was before email or cell phones. Americans had no idea what we lived through in Africa during this time, fleeing for our lives. Getting a real world view is something most Americans have no clue about. For example, we complain about gas prices while over there they are struggling to just get enough food to survive. These experiences helped adjust my worldview and realize that the lower class in America has opulent wealth compared to most nations in the world.
No. Our standard of living in the United States, if you're impoverished, if you have almost nothing or fully nothing, like, it doesn't matter if the lowest paying job earns $20,000 a year, if that $20,000 a year literally is not enough to rent a house. If that $20,000 a year literally is not enough to support yourself. If you don't have enough money for food every month, it doesn't matter how much more that is than anybody else. If you're living in abject poverty, it doesn't make it any better to know that somebody else is also in abject poverty.
Approximately 70 to 80% of the world is living in third world conditions, dominated by poverty, hunger, corruption, and constrained freedoms.
I argue that that's the condition that the impoverished are living in the United States. Dealing with hunger, corruption, constrained freedoms, poverty. You know, the average McDonald's worker is living in those conditions. I ask anybody from outside the United States, from Canada, from any European country, ask them, is the United States like a third world country? Do you have more rights in Norway or in the United States? Anybody will tell you the United States is a shithole.
While driving down the streets in Abidjan, Côte d'Ivoire, Ivory Coast in southern West Africa, I was flagged down by a policeman to pull over. He came up to my window and said, "How about some money?" He was asking for a bribe, didn't flinch or blink an eye. Just wanted money. Corruption has destroyed these countries. Nigeria, for example, is one of the world's richest in natural resources. The people there should be living very, very well. Instead, the corruption is so high that it's the exact opposite. Well,
yep, that's what corruption does, right? That's what you have brought down on us, Gene Bailey, with Donald Trump. That's what Trump brought, corruption. Just disgusting, open corruption.
I was there. I saw the majority of the population living in squalor. It was like the streets of India. It was horrible. Here's a nation that has some of the richest minerals in the world, yet because of corruption, it's an impoverished disaster. Basically, what we're seeing now is an attempt to kill America and make it like these third world countries where chaos, crime, and corruption rule, where we have no choice and no control over our lives.
What? The Democrats are trying to do this in his mind? He really does just live in another fucking reality, doesn't he?
Just think of all the riots when property was destroyed. People walking down the street are blatantly assaulted by gangs. Shoplifting mobs are so bad that stores have to shut down or move. Instead...
What? Is he talking about in the United States this shit happens? What?
Instead of being arrested and prosecuted, these criminals are being embraced and encouraged, while parents who simply voice their concerns at school board meetings are labeled terrorists and saying God created them.
What the fuck? I'm sorry. And saying God created them male and female is considered hate speech. No. No. Get fucking help. You know, all of this stuff about, like, how we're living in, like, a third world country because gangs are attacking people, destroying, looting, and rioting and all that shit. That's all nonsense. I'm from New York City, okay? I'm from Manhattan. That shit is nonsense. It doesn't happen in Manhattan. It doesn't happen anywhere in New York City.
Male and female is considered hate speech. Get it? We think you do. R.E. dug wells. In Genesis we read that Isaac redug the wells of his father, Abraham, and Isaac dug again the wells of water which they had dug in the days of Abraham his father, for the Philistines had stopped them up after the death of Abraham. He called them by the names which his father had called them, Genesis 26, Billy Dean, and KJV. Why is this significant for us today? The Philistines, similar to the woke progressives in America, wanted to cover up the past and ignore the promises of God to Abraham and his seed.
Progressives want to cover up? I'm sorry. Like the Philistines wanted to cover up the past and ignore the promises of God to Abraham and his seed? What? The left in America is like the Philistines? What are you fucking smoking?
They filled the wells, sealed them off. This is what the enemy of our nation wants to do with our Constitution.
Sorry, that one got truncated. That I fixed the truncation problem. They filled the wells, sealed them off, and wanted to act like they and Abraham never existed.
This is what the enemy of our nation wants to do with our Constitution and founding documents. They want to cover them up like they never existed.
No.
Even rewrite them depicting a different history.
No.
But what did Isaac do in the face of the Philistines? He redug those wells and named them as Abraham had. This action was met with hostility and hatred by the Philistines. Isaac redug the wells of water. The naming of wells by Abraham was the hereditary right of his family to the property. Closing off the wells by the Philistines was to obliterate the traces of their origin. Isaac redug them and restored the original names, which also proclaimed his divine rights. As people who love God and America, we are called to be Isaacs. We can't let them destroy our history or our promises. What we have before us is a history of promise that leads to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, opposed to a world history that reveals the corruption of the ideologies being forced upon America and ultimately where they lead.
The ideologies are being forced on America. I'm sorry. Give me a fucking break. The only ideologies being forced on America are the ideologies of the far right.
All we have to do is look at the world around us to see that if we continue down this path, this is what our destiny is.
You know, I'm sorry. Look, I just want to point this out. The left is not trying to push an ideology on the country in any way, not even a little bit. The right is. Okay, what does the left want? The left wants freedom. Freedom to get an abortion if necessary. Freedom to get gay married. Freedom to, I don't know, whatever, just freedoms generally. Freedom to get good health care for an affordable cost. What does the right want? They want to actually indoctrinate children. They are actually trying to force prayer back into schools, or force it into schools, period. Like mandatory, the teacher forces a child to say a prayer every day type of shit. That's ideology. Don't let them both sides this. One side, the left, wants freedoms for people. The other side, the right, wants ideologies.
We have a choice. Redig our wells that name our rights, or stick our heads in the ground and allow the enemy to lie to us and ultimately destroy us. We have been a nation under covenant with God. That's the reason we've been different. That's why we are not like Russia or Africa or other third world countries. God is the reason we've survived as long as we have, despite everything that's going on now. We have had our godly foundation as a basis, and we still have a remnant fighting for God and His will in this country. They are Isaac's, redigging our wells. Revival like...
I don't understand that reference. Isaac's redigging wells. Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't know what the fuck he's talking about.
In 1960 and the 1970s is churning again. God is not done. It's coming at a cost of hostility and hatred, but like Isaac, we have to keep digging. If America's freedoms die, the rest of the world gets even darker. We have to remind people that's what makes us different. We have to say it out loud. We're not just talking about Marxism, we're talking blatant communism. It's like when people say...
Wait, what's the difference in his mind? Is there a difference between Marxism and communism to Gene Bailey, of all people? Or does he have any idea what communism even is?
Marijuana is a gateway drug. Socialism leads to Marxism, which leads to communism. And the best prevention is not to go down that initial path. When we see them trying to make us godless, it's because that's where communism flourishes.
Oh, please.
You see them attacking the family because, in our opinion, they want to take the children, and that's what they're doing in some states. No free will, no choice is the standard they want.
No free will? Like the free will, the free choice to get married to a dude, to get gay married? Like the free choice to get an abortion if you need one? The free choice to do whatever the fuck you want? Those things are being... Well, let me rephrase. Those free choices are being dampened and destroyed by the left? Please. Like, everything this dude says is fucking delusion.
And they will weaponize whatever they can to make that happen. Creating pandemics, lockdowns, forcing vaccines, election fraud, labeling any verbal opposition as hate speech and terrorism, creating race tensions.
Like, no to all of this. Racial tensions are generated by the right, by Gene Bailey and people like him, first of all. And second, labeling any verbal opposition as hate speech, that's fucking delusion. That's not happening. Okay, if you say gay people are going to burn in hell and they don't deserve to, you know, exist in America, they don't deserve the same rights as everybody else, I would say that's hateful, right? Is that, like, not hateful to Gene Bailey? Does that not make sense?
Allowing illegal...
And I'm sorry, and on top of that, what is hate speech in Gene Bailey's mind? Is there nothing that he considers to be hate speech? What about people like in the KKK saying things like black people are inferior to white people? Is that not hate speech to him? Does hate speech, like, not exist in his mind at all?
No free will, no choice is the standard they want, and they will weaponize whatever they can to make that happen. Creating pandemics, lockdowns, forcing vaccines, election fraud.
What? The left is creating pandemics and forcing vaccines and election fraud? Fucking please. How did the left create a pandemic? In what way? And at no point were there federal lockdowns under Trump or Biden, nor were there vaccine mandates. There was a testing mandate at one point where people could get tested to be exempted from the vaccine mandate. People were tested and getting a vaccine would exempt them from the testing mandate. It was not a vaccine mandate. Just like these people will lie about fucking anything.
Labeling any verbal opposition as hate speech and terrorism. creating race tensions, allowing illegal immigrants to flood in with violent criminals and fatal drugs, on and on.
Yeah, that's the type of hate speech I'm talking about.
You know it's true. A serious warning. When we talk about killing America, we must understand they are going right into our homes and backyards. They want our kids and grandkids.
Holy shit, the fear-mongering. They are going into our backyards. They want our kids and grandkids. What a wild fucking thing to say, dude. Complete delusion.
The psalmist wrote, "Children are a heritage from the Lord, offspring a reward from him. Like arrows in the hands of a warrior are children born in one's youth. Blessed is the man whose quiver is full of them."
This is the basis of the quiverful movement. The movement that believes that God commands you to have like 50 children or whatever.
They will not be put to shame when they contend with their opponents in court. Psalm 127, Furry 5 NIV.
Furry 5. Oh, 3-5. Okay.
Our children are our wells. They are our arrows to protect us later. Godly children will contend with their opponents in court. The New King James Version says, "But shall speak, confront with their enemies in the gate." We need our children. They are our future, and the enemy knows this. Our children are being aborted at alarming rates. They are taking away their innocence.
Your children are being aborted at alarming rates? Like, your wife tried to have a kid and the state commanded her to abort it? Is that what you're saying? Or are you saying that people are making their own free choices? Because that's very, very different. He wants to frame this like his rights are being taken away, when in reality, he's trying to take other people's rights away.
Trying to confuse their genders. If they can keep them confused, they can control them, and eventually sterilize them.
What? They, some ambiguous, amorphous they is trying to sterilize our children?
No seed made in the image of God. It seems to us they're trying to pervert a generation so that they can flip our Christian heritage to replace God with government. Adolf Hitler said he alone who owns the youth gains the future.
No, he didn't. He did not say that. That's a lie. That is complete fabricated garbage. Again, I've written multiple books on this subject, on Hitler's religious beliefs. Hitler never said that.
He understood that. The core of his Red Army and brown shirts were indoctrinated youths. The Hitler Youth and the League of German Girls were developed as Nazi Party youth groups to indoctrinate children and juveniles to Nazi ideology and policy.
That's correct.
These youth groups also prepared Germany's young people for unquestioning commitment in war. This is a battle plan by those killing America, and it still is working. We're just waking up to it. There was the false perception that this could never happen in America. We thought because we're a Christian nation and because we're Americans, we're good. We've had to grow up a lot in the last 2 or 3 years to understand, wait a minute, it can happen and is happening. When in Russia back in 1992, I learned that at the time of the wall coming down, 1 in 4 people was a KGB informant.
It's true. The Nazis set up a similar system. It was called the denouncement program. And basically, you could denounce anybody for any reason. Just basically call the Gestapo up and say, I denounce blah, 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 and give them a reason. And that program led to the Gestapo, or that program led to the feel that the Gestapo was everywhere, watching everything and everybody. Fascinatingly, they had about 12 million denouncement records. 12 million people were denounced at some point. Kids would denounce their teachers for assigning too much homework, shit like that. They would denounce their parents for not saying Heil Hitler in the morning, or for not saying Heil Hitler when they answered the phone. You know, phone rings, Heil Hitler, that kind of thing. A quick question for you guys. Do you guys do the phone thing like this? Is this your telephone symbol? Or do you do this? Like hold the... Is this your phone calling thing or this? I think this is the old way. Anyway, the point is that denouncement was a big problem in both Germany and the Soviet Union.
Many were kids who were indoctrinated to tell on their parents. It was their duty to their mother nation, if they saw their parents do something contrary, to report them.
Yep.
I met a wonderful man named Sasha, who was probably in his 30s, but looked like he was in his mid-50s or 60s.
I'm sorry, what was the point of claiming that, or of explaining the denouncement program? Is he saying that's happening in the United States right now?
Life had been that hard. He was a Christian, and I asked him when did he get saved. I got saved 12 years ago, he said. I then asked about his wife. He said, well, I didn't tell my wife because I was concerned that she would turn me in. But I love my wife. That's how much fear controlled him. After the wall came down, he told his wife he had been saved and was a Christian. Come to find out, she had been saved about a year later after he did. Think of it. For years, they had been living in the same house, both of them believers, yet living in so much fear, they felt they couldn't tell each other.
Yeah, that's definitely what the denouncement program created. It was disturbing.
We have to redig our wells and name them. We can't let them have our kids and families and kill America. We can't become like them.
We can't become like them. Those evil people out to get you. Fucking insane. Anyway, tell me what you think about it in the comments. That shit is wild, dude. I'm actually really enjoying reading this. I think this is really valuable. All right. I'm going to get out of here. Appreciate you guys hanging out with me. It's been fun. I will talk to you guys tomorrow, okay?